Chapter 1246. But the key point wasn't Yuanan, but this elder. He wasn't an ordinary elder, and he certainly wasn't a venerate that the Ning family had recruited. In terms of seniority, the city lord had to call him uncle. This was Ning Chaofan's third grandfather, the true master of the Wenhua Garden. His status in the family was extremely high. Even he had to bow to Qin Hao. From what he heard, Ning Chaofan had been protected by Qin Hao, which was why he was able to return safely. A low-level martial artist had actually protected the Ning family's young master. How was this possible? It could be imagined just how shocked the martial artists were. "It's over." Jia He's face was deathly pale. Cold sweat poured down like rain, soaking his entire body. "It was nothing. Senior, there is no need to take it to heart." Qin Hao returned the greeting. He had cracked the hidden dragon array formation, killed the old man with the broken sword, and brought Ning Chaofan out. It was indeed that easy. However, in the ears of the martial artists, this nothing was like a perilous storm. Could it be that this low-level martial artist had hidden his cultivation and was in fact an almighty being? Had the spirit beast sect kicked an iron plate? The martial artists looked towards Chang Helo. This matter clearly wasn't over yet. Qin Hao was Ning Chaofan's teacher and also his savior. How should the spirit beast sect handle their relationship with the Ning mansion? "So it's the son of Golden Light City's city lord. I've long heard that Brother Chaofan is proficient in array formations and artifact refining. Now that I've met you, your aura is truly extraordinary. I am the chief disciple of the spirit beast sect's sovereign, Chang Helo." Chang Helo gracefully smiled and cupped his fists towards Ning Chaofan. He directly ignored Qin Hao, as if nothing had happened between the two of them. The martial artists nodded. Chang Helo was a smart man. He avoided Qin Hao and greeted the Ning family's young master. Then, the conflict between him and the Ning family would be resolved. Since the spirit beast sect didn't mention it, the Ning family naturally wouldn't mention it either. Both sides were major forces. How could they shed all pretense of cordiality for an outsider like Qin Hao? In fact, Chang Helo also had such thoughts. However, they had seriously underestimated Qin Hao's position in Ning Chaofan's heart. Young Master Ning was sincere in becoming a disciple, but Chang Helo avoided his teacher. Was he looking down on him? "What does my bearing have to do with you? Are you close to him? Do I know you?" Ning Chaofan threw a cold look at Chang Helo. Chang Helo couldn't help but glare. "He Luo." The injured elder Wan got up and shook his head at Chang Helo. Golden Light City was the territory of the Ning family, so he couldn't have any conflicts with them. "Hee, if that's the case, I won't disturb young Master Ning any further. Please." Chang Helo retreated and led the disciples of the spirit beast sect into the Wenhua Garden. Previously, Jia He had promised to let them stay in the Tianhua courtyard. Therefore, the Tianhua courtyard naturally belonged to them. During this entire process, Changgeluo turned around and glanced at Ke unwillingly. "Did I allow you to enter?" Ning Chaofan took a step forward and stood in front of Chang Helo. "After offending my teacher, you still want to stay in my house? You must be dreaming, right?" "Ning Chaofan, how does your servant do things? My brother-in-law and I wanted a house, but he said that lowly people and dogs couldn't enter. That white-haired guy wanted a house, but your servant acted as if he had seen his own father. His attitude was even more respectful than before." Ke pointed angrily at Jia He. "Eldest young master, I was wrong. Please have mercy on me." Plop. Jia He knelt down. "Lowly people and dogs can't enter? My teacher is a lowly person? Good, very good. I've only been away from the family for a month. When I returned, there were already people who wished for my death. What's even more ironic is that the person who wished for my death was actually a servant of the Ning family." Ning Chaofan was so angry that he laughed instead. "Young master, I didn't know that the gentleman was your teacher. If I had known, I would have had 100 times the courage. I seem to have explained it to Steward Jia. Unfortunately, before I could say anything, you had already rudely chased me out. Qin Hao was also helpless. Young master, please have mercy, shut up. I'll deal with you later. Ning Chaofan interrupted Jia He and said to Chang Hello, now, are you going to get out of here, or do you want me to send you out? Qin Hao had heard this sentence before. However, at this moment it was being used on Chang Hello. The ups and downs of life were truly too exciting. Young Master Ning, isn't this too much? Can't you even stay for one night? Chang Hello said. My teacher can stay, of course. However, your spirit beast sect is not qualified. Ning Chaofan looked directly at the other party. Young Master Ning, as a person, don't be too ruthless. An elder of the spirit beast sect said. Ruthless. Ning Chaofan looked at the other party and solemnly ordered, all members of the Ning family in the Wenhua Park, listen to my order. From today onwards, no matter if it's an inn, a tavern, a medicine shop, or a pill shop, as long as it's a property of the Ning family, no one is allowed to accept anyone from the spirit beast sect. Even if it's not a property of the Ning family, if you dare to accept anyone, you will be making an enemy of the Ning family. Yes, young master. The Ning family's martial artist shouted in a deep voice. Are you satisfied? Now you're calling me ruthless. If you think it's not ruthless enough, I'll give an order. Do you believe that I won't let your spirit beast sect enter the auction tomorrow? Not even a single strand of hair? Get out of here. Ning Chaofan pointed at the spirit beast sect's elder's nose. At this moment, everyone from the spirit beast sect was extremely embarrassed and humiliated. They were the most authoritative first-rate sect in the Southern Territory. If they were driven to the streets and didn't even have a place to stay, their sect would lose face. Ning Chaofan, is this your idea or City Lord Ning's? Is the Golden Light City branch preparing to declare war on my spirit beast sect? Chang Hello roared in anger, no longer able to maintain his elegant smile. All inns, taverns, and even shops not owned by the Ning family in the Golden Light City were not allowed to accept anyone from the spirit beast sect. This was tantamount to a complete break with the spirit beast sect. I hope young Master Ning has thought it through before saying these words. Or perhaps, he should ask for City Lord Ning's opinion. Elder Wan sneered. In his opinion, Ning Chaofan was not qualified to give such a serious order. Are you looking down on me? Since I am the young master of the Golden Light City, sooner or later, I will be the real City Lord. If my father dies tomorrow, then I will be the City Lord. Do you think this young master is qualified? Third Grandpa, throw them out. Ning Chaofan waved his hand. The Ning family's elder suddenly took a step forward. The aura of an 8th-stage primitive emperor rose, and his imposing manner was astonishing. Ning Chaofan, you lunatic! Chang Helua simply couldn't imagine what kind of reaction City Lord Ning would have if he had heard such disgraceful words from the other party. All the cultivators in the hall were speechless. Only the members of the Ning family were embarrassed. They hoped that the City Lord would die. In the whole residence, perhaps only the young master dared to say such words. However, those who were used to Ning Chaofan's temper knew that he was indeed a lawless dandy. Heluo, let's go. Elder One couldn't bear such humiliation. If they continued to make trouble, they might not be able to enter the auction tomorrow. Ning Chaofan, you are ruthless. And you, what is your name? Chang Hello stared at Qin Hao. His gaze could kill. Qin Hao. Qin Hao said calmly. Good, I hope you can have a meteoric rise in the Ning family. Or, the Ning family can protect you for the rest of your life. Let's go. Chang Hello was extremely angry. He had never been humiliated like today. In front of so many forces, he was driven out of the Ning family. Even the holy son of the fierce Sun Temple, Yu Qianyang, didn't act like a mad dog like Ning Chaofan. And all this was because of Qin Hao. In the Ning family, Chang Hello couldn't do anything to Qin Hao. But outside of Golden Light City, only the heavens knew if Qin Hao would still be alive. Accompanied by the cultivators pointing and whispering, the spirit beast sect left the Wenhua garden. Just as Ning Chaofan said, they had to set up tents and sleep on the street tonight. Now, it's your turn. Ning Chaofan rolled his eyes and coldly stared at the kneeling Jiahe. The culprit of this situation was this idiot. If he hadn't turned a blind eye and allowed Chang Helo to be unscrupulous, the Golden Light City branch wouldn't have had the chance to break off relations with the Spirit Beast sect. Chapter 1247. Qianqian. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. An eye for an eye. Eldest young master, please have mercy on me. I won't dare to do it again. There won't be a next time. From now on, you are no longer a subordinate of the Ning family. You have nothing to do with the Ning family. Your life and death are up to fate. Take your salary and get out. Ning Chaofan waved his hand. Young master, Jiahe has worked hard for the Ning clan for more than 20 years, working hard without complaint and assisting the third old ancestor in managing the literary garden. In your eyes, my 20 years of hard work can't compare to an outsider? Jiahe shouted heartbreakingly. He had lived in this place for more than 20 years and entrusted his youth to the Ning family. Naturally, he saw himself as a member of the Ning family. How could he be willing to leave? If it weren't for your 20 years of hard work for the Ning family, you would be a corpse by now. Ning Chaofan's eyes were cold. He grabbed Jiahe's collar and pushed him out of the door just like how he pulled Qin Hao. Pung! At this moment, a powerful golden yuan qi swept over and cut through Jiahe's legs. His legs were cut into meat paste and blood sprayed all over the ground. Thump! Jiahe fell down and let out a shrill scream. Chower, as the next city lord of Golden Light City, you are too soft-hearted, the third elder said with a cold tone and a dignified gaze. It swept across the faces of every servant and warrior of the Ning family. Our Ning family will take care of your food, your accommodation, and your family members. We will also grant you powerful cultivation techniques and cultivation resources. What you enjoy in Golden Light City is superior treatment that is several times better than that of ordinary people. From the moment you entered the Ning family, you should know what to do and what not to do. However, this generous treatment is not for nothing. You want to leave after making a mistake? Haha, you should know the consequences. As for receiving the offerings? The third elder stared at Jiahe. Are you worthy? You swaggered around in Golden Light City for more than 20 years and provoked people you shouldn't have. The Ning family wiped your ass every time. If it weren't for the Ning family protecting you, you would have died hundreds of times. The third elder said righteously. Although the servants of the Ning family were manual labor, the servants of the third elder's translation house, they still enjoyed it. This was also the reason why the servants of the Ning clan had never betrayed their masters. Otherwise, the black-clothed subordinates of the coiling dragon wonder had long abandoned Ning Chaofan instead of risking their lives to protect him. Translation on translation, because he his translation because translation with his because to his protect his to lived his translation his as he as he as he as. By crippling Jiahe's legs and not taking his life, the three elders had already shown them great mercy. Thank you, third old ancestor. Jiahe is moved to tears. Jiahe's face was ashen. He knew that from now on, he was no longer the powerful steward Jia. He no longer had any connection with the Ning family. Throw him out. The third elder ordered. Hold on. Qin Hao took a step forward and shook his head as he looked at Jiahe. Why did you end up like this? Forget it. Here are 50,000 earth crystals. Take it as a reward from young Master Ning. It's your 20 years of service. As he spoke, Qin Hao tossed a sumaru pouch at Jia He. Just like how Chang Hello had tossed him, there were 50,000 earth crystals inside. These 50,000 earth crystals were not as much as Chang Hello's. However, Chang Hello's 500,000 earth crystals were to buy Ko. Qin Hao gave Jia He 50,000 earth crystals because he pitied him. The two of them were like strangers. In a sense, giving out 50,000 earth crystals was more generous than Luo Changhe's. However, was it really for free? Would Jia He dare to take it? His legs were already broken, and he was expelled by the Ning family. He had no power behind him. With 50,000 earth crystals in his pocket, would he dare to go out? This situation was similar to when Qin Hao faced 500,000 earth crystals. He could kill without spilling blood. In fact, Qin Hao did not even have to lift a finger. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Jia He was so scared that he threw the pouch away and crawled to the steward's seat. He was not stupid. Men, throw him out. Don't forget to bring the money. I gave it to him, Ning Chaofan ordered. As he spoke, his heart trembled. Yes, he had been too merciful just now. However, how could the three elders not be merciful? At the very least, they only broke Jia He's legs. Only Qin Hao wanted to send Jia He on his way. However, who could he blame? Back then, Jia He had allowed the spiritual beast sect to do whatever they wanted. He had forced Qin Hao and K.Er to their death. Wasn't he just as merciless? He could only blame himself. He had only himself to blame. Yes. The martial art practitioners of the Ning family obeyed. Two of them went forward and picked up the sumaru pouch on the ground. They stuffed it into Jia He's arms and carried it out of the door. Along the way, Jia He kept screaming in fear. Whoosh! Many martial art practitioners in the hall rushed out. After a while, a few of them returned with smiles on their faces. The 50,000 earth crystals were in their pockets. Of course, their hands were still stained with Jia He's blood. This person was no longer a member of the Ning family. So what if they killed him? They had earned 50,000 earth crystals for free. However, Qin Hao did not see this scene. Now, he had been invited to the main building of the Wenhua Garden, the Wenhua Pavilion. Sir, you broke the strange formation and fought hard against the broken sword evildoer to save my grandson's life. On behalf of the Golden Light City's Ning family, this old man thanks you for your kindness. Please accept this old man's bow. In the main hall of the pavilion, the three elders bowed to Qin Hao. Senior, please don't. Qin Hao was flattered. After all, the other party was Ning Chaofan's third grandfather. Sir, please don't treat me like an outsider. When you're at the Wenhua Garden, treat it like your own home. Servants, serve tea. The three elders chuckled. Then, a few beautiful maids served tea and pastries. After being slightly rude, they retreated. He thought to himself, who are the white-haired martial art practitioner and the girl who sit on the same level as the three elders? They have such a noble temperament, just like an emperor or a princess. Senior, you're too polite. This junior is a little embarrassed. Qin Hao didn't restrain himself. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. You're too kind. My Ning family is lucky to have met such a genius like you, the three elders said amiably. At the same time, they carefully observed Qin Hao. Three souls coexisting. He knew formations and smithing. His mental strength was extremely high. He could break the 36 Big Dipper star formation. His combat strength was too monstrous. He could actually kill a middle-level Emperor Realm expert. Even if the Saint's son of the Fierce Sun Temple and the Wuk Sword sects Sho Wuk were here, he would still be inferior to such a peerless genius. In fact, the black-clothed subordinate had already told the three elders about Qin Hao's record at the Coiling Dragon Wonder and his experience in the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm. Otherwise, why would he allow Ning Chaofan to break off his relationship with the Spirit Beast sect? Did he really think that the three elders were stupid? Out of kindness? Pity for the weak? Or was it because of a mere teacher's reputation? No, it was because Qin Hao's talent was worth the Ning family's effort. Chapter 1248. It was obvious that Qin Hao's future was destined to be extraordinary. If he did not die prematurely, he had the potential to reach the Emperor realm. He did not expect to bring Qin Hao into the Ning family. Peerless geniuses could only be treated as equals and could not be recruited. The third old ancestor only hoped that Qin Hao and Ning Chaofan would always maintain a certain relationship. If Qin Hao was here, no matter where Ning Chaofan went in the future, Golden Light City would never have to worry about anything. If one day Qin Hao was fortunate enough to reach the Emperor realm, their Golden Light City would also have the right to make important decisions in the entire martial Ning Empire. What they needed to do now was to help Qin Hao as much as possible. In the future, Qin Hao would not forget this friendship. This was a long-term deal. The third old ancestor had foresight. Teacher, third grandfather and I have inquired about the Jinghua Garden. He and Huang were indeed forcibly captured by the Blazing Sun Temple, Ning Chaofan said at this time. The master of the Jinghua Garden was his second grandfather, and Ning Chaofan's grandfather was the eldest. Because he failed to reach the Emperor realm, he had already passed away. The position of City Lord was inherited by Ning Chaofan's father. The Blazing Sun Temple temporarily stayed in the Jinghua Garden. The place where He and Huang were imprisoned was decided by second grandfather. This relationship was very solid. Ning Chaofan easily met He and Huang and asked about the reason. The two brothers told him that when the Coiling Dragon Wonder collapsed and the Hidden Dragon's secret realm opened, they were indeed swept in. But midway, they were sent flying by a raging force. The force was too strong and they could not resist. In the end, they were sent flying far away. Feeling dizzy, they unfortunately met a Blazing Sun Temple core elder who was wandering outside. He and Huang were no match for the other party and were forcibly captured. I told them that the Ning family will be in charge of the auction, and that teacher will save them so that they won't have to worry. Ning Chaofan said. Yes. Qin Hao nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. Where are the old demon and Han Er? This. Ning Chaofan had a helpless look in his eyes. Young Master Qin, forgive my Golden Light City for its limited abilities. This time, the Night Net Palace's palace master came in person. Her name is Yi Ninghong, a 9-star Emperor Realm expert. Her status is on par with my clan's majesty. I really don't dare to ask her for help. The third old ancestor blushed with shame. They were branch lineages and were far from qualified to converse with the Night Net Palace Lord. As for the direct family, there were only a few people who were qualified to make Yi Ninghong look at them seriously. Even the princes of the direct family had to take a detour when they saw Yi Ninghong. Moreover, she was an empress, and her disciples were all female. It was even more inconvenient to barge into the courtyard of a group of women. The slightest carelessness could cost him his life. Thank you for your trouble. Qin Hao thanked the third old ancestor. Meeting and conversing with a 9-star Emperor Realm expert was beyond the ability of Ning Chaofan's family. Qin Hao didn't blame the other party. Since that was the case, he could only wait for the auction to start before confirming whether the old demon was in the Night Net Palace's camp. As for Mistress, there are a total of 3 princes from the Xianyuan family who came on an 8-winged black dragon. One of them is the Crown Prince, and the other 2 are the second prince and the third prince. Their statuses are also too high, and they are almost the next generation of Southern pride. I'm a branch member, and I can't negotiate with them directly. Ning Chaofan secretly clenched his fists, looking very unwilling. He was also from the royal family, but in front of others, he appeared to be several levels lower. Of course, he didn't feel good about it. The 3 princes of the Xianyuan family came out at the same time and negotiated with each other. It was easy to stir up trouble if one wanted to find a woman in their group, and it would appear that the martial Ning Empire didn't respect the Southern Pride divine nation. Phew! Qin Hao let out a deep breath. Sure enough, it wasn't easy. The first prince, Xianyuan Wuba, 189 years old this year, has entered the emperor level, 4-star Emperor Yuan. The second prince, Xianyuan Wuying, 67 years old this year, peak emperor level, has already glimpsed the emperor's path. It won't be long before he breaks through to emperor level. The third prince, Xianyuan Wuyao, 40 years old, peak emperor level. It's very difficult to find mistress among them. Ning Chaofan was also extremely anxious. Unless he barged in and searched them one by one with lightning speed, it would be too easy for him to hide someone with a martial monarch realm and 2 high-level martial monarchs realm cultivators to lay down some restrictions. However, if he searched forcefully, it would be equivalent to declaring war on the Southern Pride divine nation. Xianyuan Wuba was the crown prince, the next emperor of the Southern Pride divine nation. His status was too high. Understood, there's no need to check. Just wait until tomorrow, and there will be results, Qin Hao said. When the auction started, the people of the Xianyuan family would enter, and whether or not Xiao Han was there would be obvious at a glance. Thank you for your understanding, young Master Qin. This old man is ashamed. The 3 ancestors said. They were powerless against the direct descendants of the 3 royal families. However, Master, you don't have to worry too much. 2 princes from the Ningwu Empire also came. Among them, the eldest prince, Ning Hongxian, is also the crown prince, and his status is equal to Xianyuan Wuba's. Eldest brother treats people kindly and is a benevolent and righteous ruler. As long as we can confirm that mistress is in the hands of the Xianyuan family, with eldest brother's support, we will definitely come back. Ning Chaofan patted his chest and swore. He seemed to be very confident in his eldest brother. After all, Ning Hongxian was the next emperor of the Ningwu Empire. Thank you for your trouble. I'm a little tired from running around and cultivating. Chaofan, accompany your third grandpa and arrange a place for me to stay. Qin Hao stood up and looked at Kair. His mood was very heavy. Ning Chaofan nodded and summoned a pretty maid to take Qin Hao to Tianhua courtyard. He could see that his master was not tired, but depressed. Otherwise, why hadn't he rested during the journey? Third grandpa, what do you think of my master's character? Ning Chaofan asked after Qin Hao left. Even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, his expression would not change. He is extremely calm and has the demeanor of a mighty ruler. If what Yuan Yuanan said is true, and he possesses the power of 3 souls, then this person's future is limitless, the third ancestor said seriously. This evaluation was very appropriate and objective. At the same time, it was also very high. After all, he and Qin Hao had just met. He could not tell what kind of person Qin Hao's character was based on the fact that he had saved Ning Chaofan once. Or perhaps, the other party was using the Ning family. Well, if my mistress is really under house arrest by Xianyuan Wuba or Xianyuan Wuying, what should we do? Ning Chaofan was most worried about this. This matter is already beyond our ability. It depends on how His Highness Hongxian deals with it, the third ancestor replied. What if he doesn't deal with it? Ning Chaofan asked again. No matter what happens in the end, you must remember that we are part of the Ning family. The third ancestor patted Ning Chaofan's shoulder and turned to walk into a secret chamber. Ning Chaofan looked at the back of the third ancestor and frowned. The meaning behind his words was very deep. If there was no other choice, was he planning to give up on Qin Hao? After all, the other party was the powerful Xianyuan clan, an overlord of the southern region. And Qin Hao, who was he? After weighing the pros and cons, benefits were indeed more important than friendship. At this moment, Ning Chaofan's feelings were very complicated. If it really came to that, what choice would he make? That night, Qin Hao did not rest. He cultivated the enduring samsara technique and mastered the way of the laws. It would be a lie to say that he was not worried. If Han was really in the hands of the Xianyuan clan, what would they do to her? Just thinking about it scared him. However, according to K.'s perception, Xiao Han was very safe and her mood was relatively calm. If Xiao Han faced great danger and resisted, she could affect K.'s mood. This was in line with the soul connection between Qin Hao and the old demon. The old demon is following the Nightnet Palace Master, and the Nightnet Palace Master is a woman. Could it be? He slept with her? Qin Hao thought about it and suddenly shivered. It didn't seem likely, but it did make sense. No, the Nightnet Palace, which had never accepted male disciples, would not allow the old demon to sneak in. There was no point in guessing. Everything would be clear tomorrow. Then, Qin Hao sank into cultivation again. 23. Education 123 Literature Network. Chapter 1249. The next day, the Martial Ning Empire's once every 5 years auction was held as scheduled. The venue was located in the center of Golden Light City. It occupied a large area and the central area was almost completely covered. Golden Light City was not only the #1 trading city in the Martial Ning Empire, but it was also famous in the entire southern region. In previous auctions, there was a specially built auction venue. Usually, the auction venue was not open to the public. It would only be shown to the world on this day every 5 years. When the morning bell rang, a ray of white light rose from the east. Golden Light City was instantly awakened. Many powerful demonic beasts flew in the sky, and the void warships rumbled. Many figures rode on swords, and their arrogance soared to the sky. Luxurious carriages were galloping below. The major forces in the east, west, south, and north city, who had rested for the night, gathered in the same direction. It was a huge scale. There were also 4 Seas City, Pinghua City, Xiangfan City, and Morong City, the 4 auxiliary cities of Golden Light City. Numerous figures of martial artists spread their wings and flew high into the sky, surging with vitality as they were afraid that they would miss this eye-catching day. Wenhua Park. Qin Hao cultivated for the night and gradually grasped the mysteries of the laws. He had not broken through the threshold and entered the first level of the laws. However, it would be soon. The dog spirit and Xiao were not idle either. Along the way, they were working hard to refine the spiritual beast fruit. Xiao was also a demonic beast. The spiritual beast fruit was also very helpful to her. The dog spirit was now a 7th-level venerable beast, and the speed of its inheritance integration was getting faster and faster. Xiao was still a peak-level venerable beast. It was not easy for her to reach emperor level. She needed an opportunity. After a simple wash, the 3 of them set off from the Wenhua Park under Ning Chaofan's lead. They followed the Ning family to the auction venue. How spectacular! Xiao looked at the figures of powerful martial artists and demonic beasts in the sky. Her eyes sparkled as she praised. Among the powerful martial artists in the sky, emperor-level martial artists could be seen everywhere. Not to mention the emperor-level martial artists, even the various demonic beasts under their feet were not inferior to Xiao who had transformed into a rainbow demon sparrow. Today was definitely a sensational day in the southern region. It was even better than the Emperor Martial competition that Xiao Yi had held in the northern borderline. At this moment, Qin Hao looked down from the sky and saw the legendary Ning family auction venue. It was an oval-shaped arena that resembled a coliseum. The area was extremely wide, and it could easily accommodate 1 million people. Its interior was divided into 4 major regions, 1 at the front and 3 at the back. It was like a triangular pattern, clearly separated. The module at the very front was the most dazzling. Its entire body was shining with golden light, and a high platform came into view. It should be the auction stage. Behind the auction stage, there was a row of 8 pavilions. According to Ning Chaofan's explanation, the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects each took one. As for the 8th tower, the Ning family had just finished building it half a month ago. It was meant for Dan Ji's members in western Liang. It could be seen that great Emperor Ning Wu valued Dan Gu very much. He placed it in the ranks of the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects, forming the 8th force. In front of the auction stage was a clean white runway. It was very long and extended into the audience. It was probably for the convenience of the elders and disciples of the various sects to examine the treasures displayed in this year's auction. Auction stage, catwalk stage, 8 pavilions. This was the first area. On the front of the runway, the other 3 major regions were side by side. The purple region in the middle was for the disciples of the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects, as well as the first-rate sect. The blue region on the left was for the aristocrats and ministers of various countries, as well as the second-rate forces. The green region on the right was for wealthy merchants and tycoons, as well as some small guilds and small groups. The 4 major regions were today's main characters. Only they were qualified to participate in today's auction. In fact, apart from these 4 regions, there was a huge empty space at the back of the auction house. The area of the empty space was several times larger than the 4 major regions combined. There was not a single seat in this area. Its existence was for the common people and low-level martial artists. The common people and low-level martial artists were not qualified to participate in the auction. They were only there to serve as a contrast. Regardless of identity, strength, wealth, or status, they were completely unable to compete with a second-rate sect, let alone a first-rate sect or the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects that stood at the peak of the southern region. The reason why they were allowed to enter, and did not charge any viewing fees, was to let these low-level people embellish the auction house's atmosphere. After all, those who were able to sit in the 4 major regions were all ministers, rich people, sect masters, and even princes. Everyone's status was lofty. During the auction process, no matter how excited they could not shout indiscriminately. This was a matter of face for the royal family and sect. Therefore, at this time, it was the common people and low-level martial artists' turn to show off. They had not seen the world and their horizons were low. Perhaps the auctioneer would take out a grade 7 pill or even a beast emperor's leg hair to ignite their emotions. The low-level martial artists would be unable to extricate themselves and would brag to everyone when they went out. The auction house also needed this kind of enthusiasm to show the scale of the auction. Qin Hao entered the auction as Ning Chaofan's teacher. The Golden Light City branch was the descendant of the 3 sovereigns. Naturally, he had to sit in the purple region. His status was second only to the princes and sect masters in the 8 pavilions. As soon as he entered, he ran into an old acquaintance. "Young friend, why are you here?" A voice called out to Qin Hao. Qin Hao stopped and looked over. He said in surprise, "Qing Lao." The person who spoke was Duanmu Qinghui, who he had met in Star Refining Tower. His true identity was the first elder of the 10,000 Cultivator Union's left faction. Back then, Qin Hao had helped him solve the problem of dividing the deep-sea jade dragon pearl. "Aya, it really is you. You're still alive?" Gu Huangshou walked in front of Qin Hao with a hunched back. His eyes swept over him, as if he was confirming whether or not this was Qin Hao. When the coiling dragon wonder collapsed, the martial artists at the time had said that a white-haired martial artist had absorbed the dragon spirit and caused a calamity. Later, Duanmu Qinghui thought, could it be Qin Hao? Gu Huangshou naturally had this thought. However, seeing that Qin Hao was safe and sound today, then the person who had collapsed the coiling dragon wonder was clearly not Qin Hao. The two of them looked at each other, regret flashing in their eyes. If it really was Qin Hao who had absorbed the Spirit Emperor's dragon spirit, it was undoubtedly a great opportunity. But, however, this was also good. After all, too many sect disciples had died at the coiling dragon wonder. Fortunately, It had not been Qin Hao who had done it. Otherwise, today's auction would have been Qin Hao's burial ground. He would have been torn to pieces by the various large sects. What, is Grandmaster Gu hoping that something will happen to me? Qin Hao rubbed his nose and smiled. This old man's conscience was extremely bad. After the auction ended, he would pull him over to study the large yuan qi detecting disc. Teacher, is this someone you know? At this time, Ning Chaofan also stopped and looked at Duanmu Qinghui and Gu Huangshou. Qin Hao nodded. Sit down here. As he spoke, he sat down beside Duanmu Qinghui and Gu Huangshou. The seats in the purple area were very large, like sofas. And the dog spirit sat with Qin Hao. Okay. Ning Chaofan also sat down. Actually, with his status as the young city lord, even if he could not enter the pavilion, he should sit in the front row of the purple area, right next to the stage. Since Grandmaster had given orders, this disciple could not disobey. There was still some time before the auction officially began. Qin Hao and Duanmu Qinghui chatted freely. The two of them talked about alchemy. Qin Hao had been reborn as Dendi, and Duanmu Qinghui was half a step into Dendi. The questions they talked about were more advanced, showing that the two of them were not ordinary. This made Ning Chaofan even more curious. Not only did teacher know how to forge tools and array formations, but he was also an experienced alchemist. He could not understand Qin Hao at all. 23. Education 123 Literature Network. Chapter 1250. Gradually, more and more forces entered the venue, and the empty seats near Qin Hao became fewer and fewer. As time went by, the main character finally arrived. Greetings, City Lord. The disciples of the Rune Origin Pavilion stood up and saluted. City Lord Ning, how have you been? Your demeanor is still the same as before. The hall master of the Herb Hall, Tang Du, smiled and cupped his fists. Not only is your demeanor still the same, I'm afraid that City Lord Ning's cultivation has improved again. An old man with a sword-like figure said. He was the core elder of Wuk Sword Sect. Hello, everyone. My old friend Tang Du, you are here too. The Ning family has not received you well. Please forgive us. Yo, Elder Meng of Wuk Sword Sect. Elder Meng's aura has returned to its original state. This is the sign of breaking through to the Emperor realm. Congratulations! City Lord Ning returned the greetings one by one with a smile on his face. Qin Hao looked over. This was an 8-foot-tall middle-aged man in a battle robe. He walked with a majestic gait. He seemed to be in harmony with heaven and earth, and could control everything. That pair of cold and handsome eyes had the aura of swallowing thousands of troops and horses. Just a glance at him was enough to make one's mind tremble and revere him. He was the Lord of Golden Light City, Ning Chaofan's father. He was an Emperor Yuan powerhouse, an extremely powerful general under Emperor Ningwu's command. However, when City Lord Ning entered the venue, he did not walk at the front of the team. Instead, he was like a foil walking beside someone. The temperament of the person leading the team was even higher than City Lord Ning. He wore a crown on his head and a golden robe on his body. 9 dragons danced on his robe, and the Emperor's aura turned into raging waves. Wherever he passed, everyone could not raise their head. He was the son of Emperor Ningwu, the eldest prince of the Ning family, Ning Hongxian, who ascended to the throne. At this moment, Ning Chaofan looked at Ning Hongxian as if he was looking at a god in his heart. After all, this was the next Emperor Ningwu who was about to lead the Ning family. Eldest brother, father. Ning Chaofan hurriedly got up and trotted all the way to greet them. From the way he shouted, it could be seen that Ning Hongshuan's position in his heart had surpassed his father's. Chaofan, I've heard from the servants that you've safely returned to your clan. I was worried. Now that I've seen you in person, I'm relieved. Ning Hongshuan's footsteps paused. A rare smile appeared on his dignified face. He raised his hand and patted Ning Chaofan's shoulder like an elder brother. This action was extremely intimate. What? You only saw your first imperial brother, but not your third imperial brother? On the other side of Ning Hongxian, a young man stood out and pretended to be angry. His bearing was also outstanding. It was only because of Ning Hongshuan's presence that he appeared to be inferior. Ning Feiyong, the third son of great Emperor Ning Wu, was the prince who had the best relationship with Ning Hongxian. It was rumored that if Ning Hongxian ascended the throne one day, Ning Feiyong would be the king of political advisors. It was obvious that his status was not ordinary. Greetings, third imperial brother. Ning Chaofan hurriedly saluted. You brat, you've been causing trouble all day long, and you actually hid it from me when you came back. If it weren't for your third grandpa, I would still be in the dark. City Lord Ning scolded. However, everyone could see that this was a father's concern for his son. It was very warm. I'm sorry, father. I've made you worry. Ning Chaofan's eyes suddenly turned red. No matter when, his father was always the one who cared about him the most. He heard from his clansmen that after he disappeared, his father sent all the experts of the Golden Light City to excavate the coiling dragon wonder without rest or sleep. City Lord Ning personally supervised them, and a lot of his hair had turned white. If it weren't for the auction, he would still be excavating at the source of the South River. Now that he looked at it, his father's hair had indeed turned white. It's good that you're back. City Lord Ning stroked Ning Chaofan's head. His eyes immediately fell on Qin Hao. Is that Mr. the one who protected you? Yes, if it weren't for teacher's protection, I would have been killed by the old man with the broken sword. Ning Chaofan clenched his fist. Thinking back to the scene when he was forced, he was still very angry. Of course, Qin Hao didn't really help him, but one thing was undeniable. If it weren't for Qin Hao's presence, Ning Chaofan would have died. Ning family will not treat him unfairly. City Lord Ning nodded at Qin Hao. Qin Hao got up and nodded as well. The current situation was too big. City Lord Ning couldn't abandon his prince to greet Qin Hao. This point, Qin Hao could naturally understand. Chaofan, come with me. At this time, Ning Hongxian muttered and took the lead to enter a pavilion. He naturally heard about Xiao Han's matter. In fact, Ning Chaofan's return couldn't be hidden from their eyes. Only Ning Chaofan was immersed in it and thought that he had deceived them, so he was happy like a fool. However, Xiao Han's matter wasn't easy to deal with. Ning Hongxian couldn't immediately give Qin Hao an answer. He needed to discuss it with Ning Chaofan first. There are no eternal friends, only eternal benefit. Between the pros and cons, friendship can be abandoned. Qin Hao was slightly disappointed. He watched the Ning family enter the pavilion. During this time, no one came up to talk to him. Ning Hongxian didn't even send a servant to remind him. As the emperor, Qin Hao naturally knew the emperor's methods. This Ning family was unreliable. Between the pros and cons, friendship can be abandoned? My young friend, why do you sigh like that? Did you encounter some problems? Qing Lao thought about Qin Hao's words and asked with deep concern. It's nothing. Qin Hao smiled unnaturally. Even the Ning family couldn't do anything about it. Did he want to implicate Qing Lao? Qing Lao's strength was decent, but he was only a half-step dandy. Compared to the top 3 royal families of the southern region, he was like the mud on the clouds. To put it bluntly, a casual slap from any of the 3 royal families was not something that Qing Lao could withstand. If you have any problems, don't hesitate to speak. Although the old man's strength is limited, he is not an ungrateful person. Qing Lao said seriously. Gu Huangshou also nodded. Ha ha ha, I don't have any problems. Qing Lao, don't worry. The auction is about to begin. Qin Hao suddenly laughed heartily. Turned out that there were differences between people. At least Qing Lao wasn't a heartless person. 23. Education 123 Literature Network Chapter 1251. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Meeting the Imperial Censor again after Ning Wu royal family, the higher-ups of Scorching Sun Temple and Wuk Sword Sect entered. With Emperor Yuan and Yu Qianyang as the core, Scorching Sun Temple's team walked into the pavilion. Yu Qianyang's fiery red hair stood on end. His eyes were arrogant, and his body was like a bunch of divine fire. Even in the face of such a grand scene, he was still calm. The geniuses of the major sect were nothing in his eyes. In Wuk Sword Sect's team, there was one person whose temperament was more outstanding than Yu Qianyang's. It was a young man in white. He was very handsome and extraordinary. Although he didn't give people the feeling of arrogance like Yu Qianyang, his calm eyes hid an extremely sharp sword intent. He was like the incarnation of a sword. This person's ability is not below Yu Qianyang's. Qin Hao looked at the young man in white and faintly felt a sense of threat. Even in his previous life, he had never seen someone with such pure sword intent. Qin Hao thought of the old man with a broken sword. The old man with a broken sword was the purest sword cultivator, and his sword strength was very strong. However, the old man with a broken sword who had been cultivating for his whole life seemed like an unorthodox disciple in front of the young man in white. He was like a monk who became a swordsman halfway. He couldn't be compared with this young man. What's more, this young man was obviously less than 30 years old. His future was limitless. His name is Showuk. He is the #1 person in the Wuk Sword Sect, the nephew of the sect master, and has long been selected as a core disciple. Showuk's talent in swordsmanship is unparalleled in the southern region. If there are no accidents, he will be the successor of Wuk Sword Sect. In the future, he will be a top figure in the southern region. The old man can only look up to him. Qing Lao explained. He didn't put on the airs of an elder and had a very high evaluation of him. Yes. Qin Hao nodded and admitted this point. At this time, he thought of Lin Feng. Senior brother Lin Feng was a seed genius of Qiyang University. At that time, he was the #1 person in the sect, and was known as a legendary figure. He was also a pure sword cultivator. If the accident in the Medicine Valley had not happened, he would have been very interested in this Showuk. In order to protect everyone, Lin Feng used his soul as the price to activate the ultimate Bladestorm. He died, leaving behind only a wisp of his soul. If I can get Xianyuan Wutian's universal earth and combine it with the power of the nether purifying water, I can revive senior brother Lin Feng. Qin Hao secretly clenched his fist. The upper echelons of the Blazing Sun Temple and the Flawless Sword Sect each entered a pavilion. After them, another group of people arrived. This was a very strange group of people. Their clothes were especially rough. The group of people only had a pair of leather boots and very short shorts to cover their private parts. Every one of them had bulging muscles and were tall and mighty. Moreover, Qin Hao saw an acquaintance in this force. Luo Yuliang, the one who had become sworn brothers with the old demon, drank wine with prostitutes, slept with women, and had a wild nature. He's from the Arhat Palace. Qin Hao frowned as he remembered. Luo Yuliang, the youngest son of the Arhat Emperor, the young master of the Arhat Palace, one of the top forces. Although the people of this sect dress very differently and affect the appearance of the city, no one in the southern region dares to challenge them. After all, they are the only martial artists in the entire southern region, and even the entire continent, who only focus on cultivating their physical bodies and become emperors through body refinement. Qing Lao said with a smile. The people of the Arhat Palace were very straightforward people, whether it was their style of doing things or speaking. Perhaps they were a little rough, but they were not hypocritical like other sects. I see, this old demon really doesn't know how to do things, sigh. Qin Hao slapped his thigh and sighed helplessly. At that time in Upper Lin City, He felt that Luo Yuliang was extraordinary and wanted to build a good relationship with him. However, the old demon became ruthless and cut off all ties with Luo Yuliang, saying that they were no longer brothers and didn't want to see each other again, which broke Luo Yuliang's heart. If that didn't happen, the Arhat Palace would definitely be a powerful helper today. They were one of the top sect, a giant that was on par with the Scorching Sun Temple. What a pity! The Arhat Palace took their seat. Immediately, a thick black smoke swept over. The black smoke was mixed with a majestic aura and emitted a faint smell of blood. It flew over the auction house and entered one of the pavilions. The process was so fast that no one could react. Unknowingly, everyone's head was covered in cold sweat. The moment the black smoke swept over, everyone felt a sense of death, as if their souls were shattered. "We've arrived at the Night Net Palace," Qing Lao said faintly. Beads of sweat rolled down his face and his gaze was solemn. The 9 Stars Emperor's aura swept over their heads. The palace master of the Night Net Palace had arrived personally. It was rumored that Yi Ninghong was a top beauty in the southern region, and her cultivation was at the 9 Stars Great Emperor level. Of course, she wouldn't show her face in public. However, the auction house was a mix of good and bad people. If one wasn't an emperor, who was worthy of standing in front of Yi Ninghong? This. Qin Hao was stunned. He flew directly into the pavilion. He didn't even have the chance to meet a disciple of the Night Net Palace. How could he tell that the old demon was present? The emperor's intent in the black smoke just now was too strong. It affected the telepathy between Qin Hao and the old demon imperceptibly. Unless it was like when Qin Hao opened the Hidden Dragon's secret realm and unleashed the full power of a 9 Stars Great Emperor. Otherwise, it would be difficult to fight against the other party's emperor intent. Seeing you like this, could it be that you have a grudge against the people of the Night Net Palace? The Night Net Palace has very few disciples, and all of them are female. The upper echelons are very protective of their disciples. In fact, they used to be called the Night Net Demon Palace. The techniques they cultivate are very evil. They don't need to attack in person to kill their opponents from 1,000 miles away. You must be careful, Qing Lao warned. At this moment, he was on his guard, as if he was guarding against the people of the Night Net Palace. However, if the other party really wanted to kill Qin Hao, Qing Lao knew that he wouldn't be able to stop them. That demon Yi Ninghong was here in person. Even an elite like Emperor Ning Wu would find it extremely difficult to protect the person she wanted to kill. Qing Lao, don't worry. Between me and the Night Net Palace. Qin Hao was about to explain. Suddenly, a sacred team entered, causing everyone to stand up and watch. Qin Hao and Qing Lao also stood up and looked back. Everyone in this team was wearing white robes and was made up of a group of elderly alchemists. The average age of these elderly alchemists was around 60 years old. The team entered solemnly like a group of devout believers. Their auras were very weak, much weaker than the first-rate forces in the southern region. More than 90% of them were Yuan kings. However, their attire was too obvious, and they were all made up of alchemists. It was inevitable that they would stand out. The 2 people in front of the team were the 2 fools, Nibbling Tube and Iron Bite. At this moment, Nibbling Tube and Iron Bite's faces were also tense and solemn. Seeing this, Qin Hao smiled. His chaotic heart seemed to have found a place to belong when Dan Jiyi's team entered. Suddenly, he calmed down. Even the way he looked at Nibbling Tube and Iron Bite was so amiable and pleasing to the eye. This was his force, his most reliable force, the foundation of Western Liang. Other than Nibbling Tube and Iron Bite, Xiaogua was also there. He was the youngest person in the team. It was hard for him not to stand out when he was traveling with a group of old men. However, the real leader was far beyond Qin Hao's expectations. It wasn't Yao Lao, Xianqiue, or even his master, Dan Xian. It was Qin Hao looked at the figure wearing a purple robe and a Kailan mask. He had only seen this figure once before. It was Dan Ge's imperial censor. Why was it him? Qin Hao knew very little about imperial censors. This person's status in Dangu was obviously not as high as Yao Lao and Dan Xian, not to mention the leader of Dangu, Xianqiu. As for the cultivation level of the imperial censor, it was probably not as high as the three of them. However, why was he the one leading the team? Were Xianqiu and Yi Longyuan confused? They had brought the Holy Soul Elixir but did not send a top fighter to protect them. Wouldn't it be like sending sheep to a tiger's den in the southern region? Chapter 1252. It was impossible for Xianqiu and Yi Longyuan to make a low-level mistake. They were not foolish people. On the contrary, the two of them were very shrewd. They sent the imperial censor to lead the team to affirm this person's ability. Or was there a hidden move behind the scenes? Xiaogua, Nibbletube, and Iron Bite stopped in their tracks and looked at the crowd. Their eyes fell on Qin Hao's position. No matter how many people there were, Qin Hao's aura was too familiar. Xiaogua grew up with him and was his lifelong idol. No matter how deep Qin Hao hid, as long as he appeared nearby, how could he escape from Xiaogua's perception? At this moment, the three of them were happy and wanted to go forward to greet each other. However, Qin Hao shook his head, indicating that there was no hurry to make it public. Xiaogua immediately understood and nodded secretly. The three of them pretended as if nothing had happened and led the team to a pavilion. Duan Zhanfei is here. Don't be rash. Leave everything to us. In the dark, a voice floated into Qin Hao's ears. It was the imperial censor who came from Dan Ge's pavilion. This voice was not unusual and had no special characteristics, but it inexplicably made Qin Hao feel close, as if it was an old friend. Duan Zhanfei? Qin Hao was slightly surprised. Warlord Daliao, the #1 general under Shao Yi, and Duan Ziju's father. He actually came too. No wonder Xianqiu and Yi Longyuan were so assured and allowed the imperial censor to lead Dan Ge's team to enter the martial Ning Empire to participate in the auction ceremony. With the warlord at the back, there was nothing to worry about. Although Duan Zhanfei was a low-level Dharch, and the most basic one at that. However, he accompanied Shao Yi to reclaim the mountains and rivers and was known as the warlord. How could he be measured by ordinary standards? His combat power was definitely very strong, at least not inferior to City Lord Ning. Uncle Duan is here. Qin Hao calmed down and sat back down. The invisible mountain on his shoulders seemed to be kicked away by an external force. Uncle Duan? Which Uncle Duan? Was puzzled. Suddenly, an idea flashed through her mind. A figure clad in Demon King armor and brimming with murderous intent appeared. That was the only person with the surname Duan in her consciousness, the warlord of Great Liao. Uncle Duan is here. Sister can be saved. Qin Hao took a grape from the fruit platter on the table and stuffed it into K's mouth, smiling without saying a word. Why is this girl so agitated? Qiao swallowed it in one gulp and coughed twice. She glared at Qin Hao with hidden bitterness in her eyes, but she understood that she could not say anything. However, his eyes were still filled with excitement. Since the elders were here, they naturally had more confidence. Little friend, you know that group of people? Duanmu Qinghui asked. No matter how well he concealed it, he would still be able to see through it. After all, he clearly remembered that Qin Hao had said in the Star Refining Tower that he wasn't from the southern region, but from the western Liang. Xiliang people? Xiliang Dangu? With Qin Hao's extraordinariness in alchemy, the two were bound to have a rather deep relationship. It was just that Duanmu Qinghui didn't know. Qing Lao must be joking. This junior's aptitude is mediocre. How could I be related to Dangu? Qin Hao said with a smile. His words were for outsiders to hear, but his eyes already told Duanmu Qinghui, Of course we know each other. Our relationship is very good. It seemed that Xianqiue and Yi Longyuan were still worried about him. They had only left for a few months, but they had immediately sent Dan Ji's troops over, led by the imperial censor and accompanied by Xiaogua. It was obvious that they were prepared to open a branch in the southern region. This was indeed the case. As long as Dan Ge had a firm foothold in the southern region, Qin Hao's participation would be more beneficial. Outsiders? Unreliable. The southern region was so vast that finding a person was like finding a needle in a haystack. That was why they had thought of auctioning the Holy Soul Pill to attract the attention of the southern region's martial artists. Qin Hao would definitely take the initiative to come when he heard the news of the Holy Soul Pill. Duan Zhanfei had also been sent by Xiao Yi to Dan Ge to join forces. Since both sides were allies, they should advance and retreat together. Dan Ge was too weak and lacked a martial emperor to oversee it. Xiao Wudi naturally wouldn't be stingy. Furthermore, his daughter was still following Qin Hao, so he had no choice but to send someone over. The imperial censor had heard that Xiao Han had fallen into the hands of the Xianyuan clan, but he wasn't sure. Thus, he secretly told Qin Hao, "Don't be impulsive. Let us handle everything." These people are the alchemists of Western Dan Ge? They are too weak. A bunch of useless Yuan monarchs. The purple-robed fellow looks like a mid-level Yuan venerate. How could such people become a top force in Western Liang? In our southern region, even a second-rate force is enough to crush them, let alone a first-rate force. And to them, our top forces are like mountains that they can only look at but not reach. However, they were able to stay in a loft and sit on equal footing with the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects. I really admire their courage when they held their noses high and put on airs just now. The martialists of the southern region discussed animatedly in the square. Western Liang was indeed a godforsaken place. The martialists it nurtured were all useless. How could it compare to the southern region? The elders of the first-rate sect smiled faintly in agreement. However, they didn't envy Dan Ge for staying in the loft. After all, Dan Ge wasn't qualified to be envious. Even the second-rate sect didn't think highly of Dan Ge. In comparison, they were very jealous of Dan Ge for entering the loft and sitting on equal footing with the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects. Such an opportunity was too glorious. Everyone, you are being too subjective. He is naturally talented to be able to refine a miraculous elixir like the Saint's Soul Elixir. However, due to environmental factors, Western Liang is poor and lacks resources. Thus, his cultivation is relatively weak. What about you? Who can research an elixir that is comparable to the Saint's Soul Elixir? A person in front of Qin Hao spoke, without hiding from the martialists of the southern region. Instantly, a large number of people looked over. In the end, when they saw the person's attire and the conspicuous pattern of 3 leaves of grass on his collar, they nodded and said, "You are extremely right. If the martialists of Western Liang were born in the southern region, they would naturally be quite strong with our abundant resources for cultivation." Ha! Qin Hao was surprised. "Brother, you are wise." He never imagined that someone from the southern domain, who prided themselves on their status, would actually stand up and speak up for the Pill Pavilion. Moreover, it seemed that his words carried a lot of weight. "Haha, it's just my personal opinion." The person in front returned and stood up voluntarily. He turned around and cupped his fists at Qin Hao. "Herb Hall, Tang Xingchen." Herb Hall? A first-rate force of the southern region, on par with the Spirit Beast sect and the Slayer sect. Moreover, his surname was Tang, and he was a direct descendant of the Herb Hall's sect master. No wonder no one refuted what he said. He indeed had the right to speak. Guest of the Golden Light City branch, Qin Hao. Qin Hao stood up and returned the greeting. The reason why he didn't mention Western Liang was because he didn't want to expose his relationship with Dan Ge. "It's an honor to meet you." You must be the person who saved young Master Ning from his crisis. I heard that yesterday, young Master Ning of the Ning family almost got into a fight with the Spirit Beast sect because of you. In the end, the Spirit Beast sect was kicked out of the Wenhua garden. All the shops and inns in the city were not allowed to accept them. Otherwise, they would be regarded as the enemy of the Ning family. You must be a top genius to make young Master Ning do this for you. Tang Xingchen was full of smiles. How am I a genius? I don't dare, Qin Hao said. The Spirit Beast sect being kicked out of the Wenhua garden must have caused a sensation in the city. It wasn't strange that Tang Xingchen knew about it. However, the Spirit Beast sect is really pitiful. It's a first-class force in the southern region after all. After being slapped in the face by the Ning family, they lost all their dignity and ended up sleeping on the streets. They still can't sit in the purple area. Tang Xingchen shook his head and sighed. Thump! Qin Hao was startled. He glanced at the purple area and didn't see Chang Hello and the others from the Spirit Beast sect. He turned around and saw the Spirit Beast sect's team standing in the large open space with the low-level martial artists of the southern region. This was really, perhaps they were afraid of being kicked out by Ning Chaofan again. After all, the auction house belonged to the Ning family. If they were really kicked out of the purple area, they would lose even more face today than yesterday. A first-class force couldn't even sit in a seat. Well, it was a bit miserable. From Brother Tang's tone, do you have any grudges with the Spirit Beast sect? Qin Hao asked. At this moment, Tang Xingchen's smile was very wide. He was gloating. Tang Xingchen took 2 steps forward towards Qin Hao. He clenched his fists and his face was tense. The smile on his face was completely gone. Yes, of course. Chang Hello often comes to the medicinal herb hall to beat me up for more than 10 years. Don't you think it's a big deal? So it's like that. Qin Hao frowned. On second thought, it shouldn't be like that. Tang Xingchen was Master Tang's direct disciple. Chang Hello had beaten him up for more than 10 years. How could the elders in the sect tolerate it? No, there must be a trap. At this moment, a smile appeared on Chang Helua's face. Hee, that's my sworn brother. It's normal for him to teach me a lesson for more than 10 years. As for you, you were so impressive yesterday. You made my sworn brother lose face in front of so many people. You even injured 3 elders of the Spirit Beast sect. Brat, from now on, I'll make sure you can't even bid for a single hair. Tang Xingchen clenched his teeth and threatened fiercely. Chapter 1253. Sworn brother? So that's how it is. You'd better take back that sentence. It's not auspicious. Qin Hao said calmly with a smile. Not even a single hair could be bought. Someone had once told him, was it in Exploding Flame City or the Yihong auction house in the wasteland? He could not remember clearly. Anyway, that person was dead. Roar. The dog spirit stood tall and stared at Tang Xingchen with its burning eyes. At the same time, Qing Lao emitted a faint pressure. Qing Lao was not angry. Haha, let's wait and see. Tang Xingchen looked at Qing Lao indifferently and returned to his seat. He did not know this old man, but he could feel that he was very powerful. Trouble was not allowed in the auction house, so he would not attack Qin Hao. However, as he said, it was completely possible to make Qin Hao unable to buy a single treasure. The Herbal Medicine Hall was the largest alchemist force in the southern region and was extremely wealthy. No one doubted his words. The nearby martial artists could only sigh. Qin Hao was unlucky. The Ning family did not dare to compete with the Herbal Medicine Hall in terms of wealth. If anyone was to blame, they could only blame Qin Hao for provoking Chang Hello. Qin Hao did not think much of it. Competing with money? Bring it on. Qin Hao felt a little guilty about competing in terms of power and cultivation. However, if you were to compete with me in terms of wealth, Dan Ji's set of Holy Soul pills was enough to bankrupt the Herbal Medicine Hall. Western Liang was not as poor as the outside world thought. In fact, there were countless minerals. In particular, the wasteland contained a celestial crystal dragon Oregon Qin, how did not even need to use the gnawing tube and iron bite. The crystals he brought were enough to kill Tang Xingqian. The fundamental reason why Western Liang was weak was not because of a lack of cultivation resources, but because of the low grade of cultivation technique. They could not keep up with the pace of the three regions. The most serious problem was that the environment was harsh. Experts also liked comfort and yearned for beauty. Those who were capable would not return to Western Liang. Experts from the other regions would not run to Western Liang either. As time passed, Western Liang had no emperor. However, it was the cleanest and most primitive place on the continent. The matter between Xiao Han and He Huang had not been resolved yet, but there were people who wanted to join forces to deal with him during the auction. Spiritual Beast Sect? Herb Hall? Very well, I'll play with you guys then. Let's see who won't be able to buy a single hair. Next, two exceptionally tyrannical forces entered the arena. The two teams were neck to neck, and the leaders did not give way to each other. Just like the giant Kuan Pring beast and the eight-winged black dragon seen in the sky above the Four Seas city, the competition was very intense. Qin Hao looked over and his heart skipped a beat. The three sovereigns and four sects were the last two peak powers of the southern territory. They were the Li clan of the north and the Xianyuan clan of the south. At the front of the Li family's team, a middle-aged man had a faint smile on his face. His aura was restrained and not arrogant. He was the second prince, Li Yaxu. He was the next Emperor Bao and the current crown prince. His status was similar to Ning Hongshuan's. There were two people following behind him. One of them was clad in battle armor, while the other was clad in green robes. The one clad in battle armor was the fourth prince, Li Yajin. As for the one clad in green robes, Qin Hao frowned slightly when he saw him. He looked a little familiar. Suddenly, he remembered that young Master Yaqi whom he met in the Zhang family when he first arrived in the Southern Territory. He was actually in the Bao royal family's team, accompanying the crown prince. Then, what was his identity? At this moment, Qin Hao understood a little. No wonder this person was so arrogant back then. The aura of the Xianyuan clan's team was not weaker than that of the Li family. The leader was a middle-aged man clad in an ordinary martial artist's outfit. The black armor on his body outlined the beauty of strength. His steps were steady and his aura was like a rainbow. The way he walked was not like he was attending an auction, but like he was on a crusade. Wherever he stepped, everything would submit to him. He was the eldest son of Emperor Bao, Xianyuan Wuba, a powerhouse who had broken through to the fourth stage of the sovereign realm. If Ning Hongshuan's aura was steady and Li Yaxu's temperament was restrained, Xianyuan Wuba was arrogant and overbearing. Moreover, he did not hide his arrogance and overbearingness at all, exuding great ambition. The heirs of the three sovereigns had different temperaments, but each of them was very outstanding and outstanding. Behind Xianyuan Wuba there were three people: the second prince Xianyuan Wuying and the third prince Xianyuan Wuyao. Qin Hao had heard from Ning Chaofan that Xianyuan Wuying was 67 years old and had reached the peak of the Emperor realm. He had already glimpsed the Emperor realm and would soon break through to the Emperor realm. The third prince Xianyuan Wuyao was 40 years old and had reached the peak of the Emperor realm. At this moment there were no traces of age on their bodies. Xianyuan Wuba was middle-aged, Xianyuan Wuying seemed to be a young man in his 30s, and Xianyuan Wuyao looked even younger, not much older than Qin Hao. When a cultivator stepped into the venerable realm, they would be free from the shackles of age. The Emperor realm had a lifespan of 600 years, the Emperor realm had a lifespan of 1,000 years, and the 9-star Great Emperor was around 1,500 years old. This was the limit of the limit. Unless they were like the old man with a broken sword, whose body was damaged when he was young and could not change his appearance when he was old. However, what surprised Qin Hao was that the third person behind Xianyuan Wuba was a man with a broken arm. It was Xianyuan Wuji, who had been kneeled down by Zhou Wudao, and his empty right arm had been chopped off by Xiao Han. At this moment, Xianyuan Wuji was no longer the cold, arrogant, and confident young man. His eyes were lifeless and his face seemed to have experienced many vicissitudes of life. Even though he was in the team of the Xianyuan royal family and was influenced by Xianyuan Wuba's aura, he could not get rid of his dispirited mood. The emperor-marshal competition had been a great blow to him. Obviously, he was doubting his life. This time, he accompanied Xianyuan Wuba to the auction because his elders had begged him to get the opportunity. Their goal was to let Xianyuan Wuji experience the big scene again and regain his sense of superiority and confidence as a descendant of the Xianyuan royal family in front of the crowd. However, how could it be so easy? Wuji, have you seen it? No matter where we go, no matter who we face, no matter how noble they are, when they see the Xianyuan royal family, they can't help but admire, envy, and revere you. Even the sect heads of these first-rate forces and their geniuses cultivated by their sects wish they could be born in our Xianyuan royal family. At this moment, as long as you casually shout, all the sect heads would be willing to offer their most beloved daughters to you. All the geniuses would be willing to help you. While walking, Xianyuan Wuba talked to Xianyuan Wuji through voice transmission. He continued, "You were born to be the strongest warrior. You were born with the mission of conquering the world for the family. What's the big deal about a mere defeat? Not to mention losing an arm, even if all 4 of your limbs are crippled, so what? When we go back, I will beg my father to use the universal sacred land to build an arm for you. A real man should not be afraid of the world." Xianyuan Wuji's body suddenly trembled. His cold heart seemed to be watered by hot blood. However, the light in his eyes dimmed down immediately. The universal sacred land was the ultimate treasure of the Xianyuan royal family. As long as one's divine soul was not destroyed, one could rebuild one's physical body. However, even if he had a new arm, so what? Zhou Wudao was too strong. His Taotai soul origin could devour everything. Xiao Han was too strong. Facing her was like facing a goddess from the 9 heavens. Especially that Qin Hao. His scarlet arrow shocked the world and shook the universe. It was unstoppable and invincible. Even Zhou Wudao was scared and fled. What could he, Xianyuan Wuji, count for? Chapter 1254. Trash! Xianyuan Wuyao shouted. His first imperial brother's words made his blood boil, but Xianyuan Wuji had no fighting spirit at all. Wuji is depressed. I can't pull him out of his depression with just a few words. He needs time to recover. Xianyuan Wuying said. His physical injuries could be treated. He could only rely on himself to heal his heart. Father is right. However, Princess Daliao is in your hands. I don't think Xiao Yi is powerful. Qin Hao even lost a woman. How powerful can he be? I really hope he can come out and teach him how to protect a woman. An arrogant young man beside Xianyuan Wuji spoke. His tone was frivolous. He did not take the emperor-marshal competition seriously at all. Champion? What was a champion? In his eyes, Xianyuan Wuji was the same. If Xianyuan Wuji was not related to him by blood, how could he be qualified to stand in the Xianyuan clan's team? This person was Xianyuan Wuying's son, Xianyuan Feng. When Xianyuan Wuji heard the words, Princess Daliao, his body trembled and he looked back. There was a woman in the middle of the team. She was accompanied by 4 extremely beautiful maidservants. The 4 maids had been carefully selected from the imperial palace, and they were all top-notch beauties. They were extremely beautiful. Beside the woman, they looked like weeds on the roadside, unsightly. That woman was sacred and could not be profaned. She was like a pure goddess. It was as if she had gathered all the beauty in the world. Ordinary people could not match her. Xianyuan Wuji looked at her and felt a faint pain in his missing right arm. In the past, she had sat beside martial Emperor Daliao, overlooking the battle arena where thousands of geniuses fought. Those geniuses were all her admirers. She had been very beautiful back then. Of course, she was still very beautiful now. However, she had lost her spiritual qi. Her bright eyes had become empty as if they had lost their soul. Xianyuan Wuji did not know what method Xianyuan Wuying used to turn Xiao Han into a walking corpse. However, he knew that when Xianyuan Wuying met Xiao Han that day, a battle broke out. Xianyuan Wuying did not fare well either. He was heavily injured by an arrow. Later, the arrow merged with the flute. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Inside Xiao Han's body, he turned into an arrow spirit to protect her, preventing Xianyuan Wuying from attacking Xiao Han. Xianyuan Wuying was afraid and did not dare to get close to her. Also, what did Xianyuan Feng just say? Do you want to meet Qin Hao? And he wanted to teach Qin Hao a lesson? Yes, there's a chance. Xianyuan Wuji felt that Qin Hao might be on the way here. As for who taught who, Xianyuan Feng would never forget it. Humph, I'm ashamed to be associated with you. Xianyuan Feng found that Xianyuan Wuji didn't respond at all. Even the woman who had chopped off one of his arms didn't dare utter a word in front of Xianyuan Wuji. He was a coward, a piece of trash. Eldest uncle, second uncle, third uncle, I'm ashamed of the cultivation of the clan. I've let you down. Xianyuan Wuji said calmly as he looked away. After returning from the northern border, he felt that nothing was important anymore. Ambition and power were just floating clouds. He would not participate in the future of the Xianyuan clan. What did Xianyuan Feng want to do have anything to do with him? There was also Qin Hao, Xiao Han, and Zhou Wudao. They were all figures of the past. He didn't want to compete with them. He knew that he couldn't compare to them. In addition to resources, talent was also important in martial arts. Xianyuan Wuji's talent had been completely crushed on the day of the Emperor martial competition. As time passed, the gap between his realm and that of Qin Hao and Zhou Wudao would only increase. There was no way for him to make a comeback. Now, he just wanted to find a quiet place and not get involved in dispute. It's my sister. She was really... Kair saw Xiao Han in the Xianyuan clan's team. Looking at her empty eyes, Kair felt like her heart was being pierced by needles. She didn't know what kind of disaster her sister had suffered. Qin Hao held Kair's shoulder tightly, not allowing her to act rashly. Even though his fingernails dug deep into his palms and blood flowed out. But now was not the time to act. He had to let the Ning family confirm and see if they would help. If they didn't, then with Duan Zhanfei around, it was possible for him to snatch Xiao Han away, although it would be very dangerous. Dong. Perhaps sensing something, Xiao Han, who was following the team aimlessly, suddenly stopped. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. She suddenly stopped. Her empty eyes gradually regained a weak luster. Her delicate face stiffly swept across the vast crowd, as if she was looking for something. In front of her, Xianyuan Wuying sensed something strange. That woman's memory had been forcibly suppressed and sealed by him. She was actually able to slowly penetrate the seal and recover a wisp of consciousness. What a tenacious woman! Suddenly, a huge spiritual force turned into a powerful force that swept into Xiao Han's mind. The weak luster that had just risen in Xiao Han's eyes was extinguished. Her eyes turned empty as she caught up with the team again. Xianyuan Wuying. Creak. Qin Hao clenched his fist. He saw that the person who controlled Xiao Han was the young man behind Xianyuan Wuba. He was 67 years old, and his cultivation was at the peak of the Emperor realm. He was the second prince who had just touched the Emperor realm. This person should be killed. Is she beautiful? In front of him, Tang Xingchen turned his head and stared at Qin Hao with a sneer. I really don't know what kind of great luck Xianyuan Wuying has to meet such a beautiful woman. She is as noble as a goddess. I can understand your feelings. In fact, I feel the same way. Xianyuan Wuying looks young, but he is actually a 67-year-old old man. He wants to control such a fairy and make her his imperial concubine. How shameless! Tang Xingchen also looked angry and hateful. He really hoped that the person standing next to Xiao Han was himself. Who wouldn't admire such a fairy? However, the people of the Xianyuan family were too strong. No matter how much Tang Xingchen disliked them, he didn't dare to be enemies with them. After the auction, she will stand next to me, Qin Hao said coldly. Thump! Tang Xingchen's heart skipped a beat. Xianyuan Wuying's imperial concubine was going to stand next to Qin Hao? Tang Xingchen wanted to hold his belly and laugh wildly. Was he dreaming? Shameless boasting. Why don't you take a piss and look at your own face? You don't deserve her. Tang Xingchen turned around. Although Xianyuan Wuying was old, his cultivation was at the peak of the emperor realm. He was a half-step away from the Yuan emperor. Would Qin Hao dare to compete with him? He was courting death. At this moment, the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects had all entered the pavilion. The 3 major areas were full. First-rate forces, second-rate forces, and all kinds of people were all present. This indicated that the martial Ning Empire's once every 5 years auction had officially begun. End of chapter. Chapter 1255. Qian Qian. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. A strange appraiser. It was said that the Ning family had invited an old eccentric to attend the auction. His name was Mr. Fenghua, and his name was Li Beitong. His cultivation was unknown, but Li Beitong's name was comparable to Mount Tai and Big Dipper in the southern region's auction world 200 years ago. He was the highest standard of appraisers. No matter what treasure it was, he could distinguish its authenticity at a glance. His status was comparable to the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects of the cultivation world. The Ning family had even invited him. It could be seen that the number of treasures in this auction was astonishing. When the Li family and Xianyuan clan entered the pavilion, a rumbling sound spread and the ground shook. 7 huge stone pillars broke out of the ground on the left and right of the auction stage, standing tall and upright. The stone pillars emitted a dazzling white light, and a figure stood on top of each pillar. Their clothes fluttered in the wind, and their auras were powerful. Among them, there were 6 men and 1 woman, a total of 7 people. These 7 people represented the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects. The 7 powerhouses shouted at the same time and raised their palms to the top of their heads. Vitality surged under their palms, turning into a raging river that shook the void above, and muffled thunder rumbled above. 7 different types of vitality gathered together, forming a terrifying vortex. The vortex spread and turned into a bright starry sky. It was as if a large cloth had spread out above the square, blocking the sun and enveloping the auction house, completely isolating it from the outside world. At this moment, the interior of the auction house dimmed. However, starlight shone above everyone's heads. It was spectacular and gorgeous. The millions of people felt as if they were in a galaxy, and they felt endless wonder. What a strong 7 people! Qin Hao was slightly surprised. Every person on the stone pillars had a half-step Yuan Larch cultivation. They had just glimpsed the Larch Dao and comprehended their own Larch intent. Although they were not as strong as Qing Lao, they were not too far off. As expected of the experts of the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects, Qin Hao knew that with this starry sky, no one could force their way out. Even a mid-level Yuan Larch would have to pay an extremely heavy price to break in. Unless it was a 9-star Great Emperor. Of course, this move was to protect the treasures in the auction house. Of course, even without this starry sky, no one dared to stir up trouble in front of the 3 emperors and 4 sections. When one of them took action, it could be considered a type of auction ceremony. In addition, it served as a form of deterrence, and its purpose was to tell the first and second-rate sect of the Southern Territory that the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects were the strongest in the Southern Territory. The ceremony was not over yet. When the 7 forces gathered and turned into a starry sky, a dazzling light suddenly shot down from the starry sky and shone on the auction stage. This white light was incomparably vast, as if it could pierce through heaven and earth, reaching up to the firmament and down to the 9 underworlds. Soon after, an old man slowly descended from the top of the starry sky. Beneath his feet was a ball of auspicious clouds. He had a goatee and wore an earth-colored gown and a pair of flowery pants. With one hand behind his back and the other stroking his beard, his eyes were kind and amiable. At first glance, he gave off a strong sense of intimacy and holiness. However, his pants and jacket were too eye-catching. After a glance, no one felt that he had the aura of an immortal. Instead, he looked more like an old hooligan. "Ladies and gentlemen, do you know of this old man?" The old man smiled. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a clear spring that spread throughout the entire auction house, flowing through the hearts of everyone present. "Mr. Feng Hua! Mr. Feng Hua! Mr. Feng Hua!" The entire square was boiling with excitement. The 3 major areas, including the civilian area and the low-level martial artist area, had people shouting madly in every direction. Everyone seemed to have gone crazy, shouting obsessively. Many people were so excited that they were crying, and some people even fainted on the ground. Of course, the people who fainted were immediately carried out by the Ning family. As soon as they were carried out, those people immediately sobered up. They smiled as they received the money from the Ning family and disappeared from the auction house. All of this was to create momentum for Li Beitong. This old fellow had lived in seclusion for over 200 years. He was afraid of being forgotten by others, and he was also a person who cared a lot about face. Thus, the Ning family satisfied his request and secretly brought in some people. However, there were nearly 1 million people in the auction house. Who would know who? As soon as they heard everyone shouting for Mr. Feng Hua, especially the commoners who hadn't seen the world, they also shouted together. The shouting spread like a plague. The momentum was great, and it greatly satisfied Li Beitong's vanity. Quiet. Li Beitong stepped on a magic cloud, his hands moving in the air. He was slightly moved. "Old man hasn't appeared for over 200 years. I thought he had been forgotten by the world. I didn't expect that the old man's charm would still be praised in the southern region. I am very happy. Mr. Feng Hua, I love you." An extremely excited voice broke the atmosphere, spreading sharply. Then, a young woman in the audience fainted on the ground. Li Beitong couldn't bear to see her like this. He waved his hand and said, "Come, take that crazy female fan of mine away and take good care of her." Without further ado, the martial Ning Empire's once every 5 years auction ceremony will begin. First, we will show the first treasure of this year's ceremony. Li Beitong paused and pointed to the auction stage. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sharp sword fell from the sky like a bolt of lightning. At this moment, a figure flew over from the top of the 7 stone pillars. With a flash of his body, he grabbed his sword and stepped onto the auction stage. The first treasure is a sword. The sword holder is an expert from the Wuk Sword clan. What is he going to do? People in the audience were discussing. Li Beitong smiled faintly at the expert from the Wuk Sword clan and said, "Cloud Rock Sword, a middle-grade emperor weapon. The main material is jade soul iron. The blade is forged from star steel, smelted in a furnace for 49 days, and watered with the blood of the emperor-level demon beast, silver-winged rock. It is used by fast sword users." As he spoke, the expert from the Wuk Sword clan suddenly stepped on the auction stage and danced with the sword. His movements were very slow. When he waved the sword, He didn't activate a trace of Yuan Qi, nor did he use his own strength. However, the way he danced gave people the illusion that he was extremely fast. Everyone could clearly hear the sound of the sword tearing through the air. It was like the blade of a sword tearing through space. Every move was very sharp. Although he was attacking later, he first pierced through space. At this moment, many venerable and emperor-level warriors in the audience were shocked. It was only the power of the sword, and he didn't use any strength or Yuan Qi. Cloud Rock Sword, with a kind of inscription, Cloud Burial Technique. It also seals the soul of the emperor-level demon beast, Silver-Winged Rock. It is light, swift, and tough. It cannot be destroyed. Li Bai continued. At this moment, the expert from the Wuk Sword clan shouted and poured Yuan Qi into the sword. He slashed the void, and the void was suddenly filled with clouds. The clouds seemed to bury the void. At the same time, a row of dense sword qi slashed into the clouds. In an instant, the clouds were pierced by the sword qi. If a person was trapped in the clouds at this time, the warriors thought for a moment and broke out in cold sweat. Roar. The expert from the Wuk Sword clan changed his move again. At this moment, his body shone with intense golden flames, and his cultivation skyrocketed. The sword in his hand turned golden, and he slashed the void again. Everyone saw the sword qi spurt out and turn into a huge silver-winged rock. The rock carried a ferocious aura and blasted into the clouds. The clouds completely collapsed, and the entire starry sky shook. It was as if the sword qi could destroy the starry sky if it was a little stronger. What a terrifying emperor weapon! Although it's a weapon for fast swordsmen, its attack strength is also terrifying. An emperor-level warrior will either die or be crippled after being hit by this sword. Everyone was shocked. A middle-grade emperor weapon, engraved with inscriptions, sealed with beast spirits, and mixed with star steel. It could be said to be a rare treasure. Of course, it was the contribution of the expert from the Wuk Sword clan that displayed such terrifying power. This person's sword Dao was extremely strong. If it was someone else, they might not be able to create such an effect. But no matter what, this Cloud Rock Sword was worthy of the Emperor-level warriors present. This sword is extraordinary. Other disciples of the Sword clan can also participate in the auction. After the demonstration, the expert from the Wuk Sword clan flew back to the stone pillar, and the Cloud Rock Sword floated on the auction stage. His words undoubtedly increased the confidence of the warriors present. Even the expert from the Sword clan took the initiative to let his disciples participate in the auction, which meant that he was absolutely sure of the sword's value. Of course, he was referring to other disciples just now. This naturally excluded the number 1 inner court disciple, Shou Wuk. The Cloud Rock Sword was indeed extraordinary. Unfortunately, a middle-grade emperor weapon was still not worthy of Shou Wuk's talent. In the expert's opinion, at least a high-grade or even a supreme-grade emperor weapon was worthy of Shou Wuk. Chapter 1256. The starting price is 200,000 earth crystals. Each bid must not be lower than 20,000. The highest bidder wins. Li Beitong said. 200,000. This sword is for the old man. In the green area, an old martial artist said, emitting an emperor-level aura. The green area was filled with powerful rogue cultivators, wealthy merchants, and small groups. 250,000. This Cloud Rock Sword, this marquis wants it. In the blue area, a marquis laughed and patted the shoulder of a young man beside him. It was obvious that he was bidding for the younger generation. 300,000, 320,000, 350,000. The competition in the 3 areas continued, and the price rose again and again. All of them were sword cultivators. The Cloud Rock Sword's power was extraordinary. Everyone present had seen it, and none of the sword cultivators wanted to miss it. with the materials, inscription technique level, and sealed beast spirit, the cost should be at most 200,000 earth crystals. This has already exceeded 150,000. A refiner is truly a profession comparable to an alchemist. Qin Hao shook his head and smiled. Both of them were cunning old foxes. This cloud rock sword seemed extraordinary, but the truth was that the materials were mediocre. At most, only the star steel on the blade was valuable. As for the cloud burial technique, a low-level inscription technique, a powerhouse could scatter it with a single breath. There was also the cloud rock, which was known as an emperor-level demon beast. In reality, it was a low-level emperor-level demon beast with a hybrid bloodline. After being sealed, the beast spirit would dissipate. Every time it was released, the beast spirit would weaken a little. After 10 releases, the beast spirit would completely turn into nothingness. It was unknown which refiner had taken it out to cheat others. After Li Beitong's flattery and a half-step sword emperor's demonstration, the level of the sword instantly rose. The Ning family, as the controller of the auction house, also made a great profit. How about it, kid? Are you interested in participating in the auction? This sword is very good. It's only 350,000. Aren't you tempted? At this time, Gu Huangshou looked at Qin Hao with a smile. Not interested. After all, the Emperor-level battle sword that you refined is with me. It's a top-grade Emperor-level weapon, much stronger than the Cloud Rock sword. Qin Hao replied. Seeing Gu Huangshou's bewitching smile, he guessed that the Cloud Rock sword was this old man's work. You want to trick me? Impossible. Sure enough, when he heard Qin Hao mention the Emperor-grade battle sword, Gu Huangshou's face sank. He blew his beard and glared at Qin Hao as he angrily snorted. 450,000 earth crystals. This sword belongs to me. Does anyone have any objections? Just as the competition was getting more and more intense, and a few sword cultivators were about to kill, a voice rang out from the purple region. A Wuk sword sect disciple stood up and swept his gaze over every single competitor. Beside this disciple sat a powerful elder-level figure from the Wuk sword sect. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, and he exuded a dignified sword intent. Involuntarily, the red-eyed and thick-necked crowd lost their temper. One after another, they sighed and no longer said anything. Fight with Wuk sword school? He was afraid that he would die the moment he stepped out of the auction house. Congratulations to the Wuk sword sect for obtaining the Cloud Rock sword. Li Beitong shouted at the right time. Thank you, master. The Wuk sword sect disciple was overjoyed. He knelt down and saluted the old man beside him. He knew very well that the person who truly suppressed the competitors was his master. Although you are not as talented as your eldest senior brother Wuk, with this sword in hand, you will have a higher chance of participating. The old man transmitted his voice. It turned out that he was preparing for the South Pole Divine Palace. The next item to be auctioned was a pill. It was a high-grade Emperor-grade pill, a healing-type pill. Its healing effect was extremely strong, and it could slightly restore vitality. The starting price was 100,000 earth crystals. The price soared all the way to 300,000, catching up to the Cloud Rock sword. 4 items of the same level, a pill was a one-time consumable. It was not as precious as a Dharma artifact. After all, it could only be used once. However, this time, the Xianyuan family and the Li family bid together, causing the price to soar. In the end, the Xianyuan family won the rights to the pill at the price of 350,000 earth crystals. Emperor-grade pills were very precious. Even as one of the 3 sovereigns, the Xianyuan family had very limited reserves. Although they won in the end, Xianyuan Wuba was very domineering. If Li Yaxu had not deliberately raised the price to compete with him, 100,000 earth crystals would have been enough to get the pill. No one dared to compete with the Xianyuan family. In the end, the Li family made them pay 3 times the price. Even so, Xianyuan Wuba did not want to admit defeat. The Li family and the Xianyuan family are really incompatible. Qin Hao analyzed the situation in his heart. The two families ruled the same empire, and it was highly likely that they would want to swallow the other. However, this auction also showed that the southern region was a high-level forest. Once the top forces interfered in the auction, the first-rate forces would voluntarily withdraw. The auction continued. Cultivation techniques, various weapons, mysterious spells, herbs, mounts, and demonic beasts were all presented on the auction stage. Their grades were not low. However, Qin Hao was not interested in any of them. The appraiser Li Beitong, on the other hand, the more Qin Hao looked at him, the stranger he felt. He could not pinpoint exactly what was strange about him. In short, they seemed to know each other. However, in Qin Hao's impression, he had never interacted with Li Beitong. 3 imperial weapons and 5 imperial-grade pills. Qing Lao and Master Gu have earned a lot today. Qin Hao looked at the two of them with a smile. He had completely lost interest in the auction. My young friend, your attainments in alchemy and weapon refinement are extraordinary. You can recognize them one by one. Those items are in our hands. Qing Lao was very surprised. A true alchemist and weapon refinement master has imperceptibly injected soul into each of their works. Qing Lao's soul and Master Gu's soul aura are very easy to recognize, although Master Gu's soul is not very special. Qin Hao smiled. You stinking brat, how can you say that? Doesn't your conscience hurt? Gu Huangshou cursed in a low voice. He was very angry. Not only did he take away his weapons, but he also said that his skills were not good. How shameless! The next item is a music score. There are no elders in the 3 sovereigns and 5 sects who dabble in music, so I can't play it for everyone. However, I believe that as long as I say its name, no one here will doubt the power of the music score. Li Beitong's voice suddenly became a little solemn. At the same time, a beauty in revealing clothes stepped onto the catwalk. She held a music score in her hand and walked elegantly past the audience. Her full breasts trembled with every step she took. This is Frightening Song. It's Qin Kuang's music score. How can it be? At this moment, all the martial artists in the 3 districts who saw the name of the music score were extremely shocked. Qin Kuang, another legendary figure in the southern region, was on par with the enchantment Emperor Ling Yangzi. Qin Kuang was also known as the Zither Emperor. Frightening Song was one of the 3 most powerful songs he had created. Once it was played, the world would be frightened. It was said that when this song was played, there were 2 completely opposite effects. One was to disturb the enemy's mind. When one's zither skills reached the emperor level, one note was enough to break the willpower of a person of the same level and even directly annihilate the divine soul. It was very terrifying. However, when one's friends heard it, their blood would boil and they would erupt with a combat strength that was beyond ordinary. When these 2 effects were displayed at the same time, it could instantly affect the balance of the battle. It was very terrifying. Unfortunately, Qin Kuang died early. No one knew how he died, who killed him, or where he died. In short, the frightening song had not been played in the southern region for hundreds of years. Qin Kuang's mountain peak had been razed to the ground. Haha, since everyone knows the frightening song, it's easy. The starting price of the mid-emperor grade music score is 500,000 earth crystal stones. Each increment must be no less than 100,000. The highest bidder wins. Let's begin, Li Beitong said. When he finished speaking, Qin Hao accurately caught Li Beitong's eyes. There was a trace of loneliness in his eyes, as if he was regretting something. At the same time, Chang Hello from the spiritual beast sect was also staring at the frightening song in the pretty girl's hand. He was a beast tamer who was best at mind-controlling demonic beasts. Music was his specialty. How could he let go of the chance to compete for the frightening song? This was definitely the most suitable thing for him. Chapter 1257. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. What is a gentleman? 500,000. Changhe Lo said decisively and directly. The three elders beside him nodded. The music score was rare and the control of the soul song was amazing. Coupled with the sex art of taming beast, the beast tamer's ability would be significantly improved. 500,000 for an emperor-level technique was extremely low. However, there were very few musicians in the southern region, and even fewer talented musicians. The competition would not be too cruel. Otherwise, how could Qin Kuang's unique technique be so low? The sect leader ordered us to bid for the ancient beast. We are lucky enough to encounter Senior Qin Kuang's unique technique. It will cost a lot to compete for the music score, but it will definitely be worth it, Elder Wan said. He gave Changhe Lo an encouraging look, telling him to give it his all. Qin Hao looked back and met Changhe Lo's eyes. His eyes were full of confidence, as if telling everyone that he was determined to win. At the same time, he sneered at Qin Hao. He did not hide his sarcasm, as if he was mocking Qin Hao for not knowing music. Qin Hao was indeed not good at music, but Changhe Lo wanted to compete for the music score? No way. Not for anything else, but for Changhe Lo's displeasure. Besides, Tang Xingchen had warned Qin Hao before that he would avenge the spiritual beast sect. He would not let him win a single hair in today's auction. Qin Hao wanted to see who would not be able to bid for a single hair. 600,000. A voice came from behind. He shouted first. Qin Hao was stunned. He looked at the person. This person was a refined scholar. He was dressed plainly, but he gave off a sense of elegance. Unlike Changhe Lo, his elegance came from within. He must have been well educated. This person sat behind Qin Hao in the purple area. He did not look like a descendant of the three emperors or a disciple of the four sects, which made people curious. 700,000. Qin Hao said. Although the scholar intended to compete with Changhe Lo, what did it have to do with him? He would slap his own face. Wow. There was an uproar in the auction house. Many people looked at Changhe Lo, the refined scholar, and Qin Hao. They had thought that the soul song would not be sold if no one. Because Qin Kuang's music score was extraordinary, it could easily make the player's song and translation, it could even damage the song. However, three competitors. Among this generation in the southern region, there seemed to be many people with music. 800,000. The scholarly man looked at Qin Hao and leisurely smiled. He continued to raise the price. There was no malice in his smile, nor was there any anger. Naturally, there were people who knew the value of good things. Qin Hao had taken the initiative to compete, which made Qin Kuang's song even more extraordinary. Translation. Translation. Initially, he didn't want to snatch the scholar's beloved item. He only wanted to suppress Changhe Lo. Translation. Wang that was. The fair translation. The Tangsong translation. This person is crazy. Even if you want to compete for the score, you don't need to be so ruthless. What do you know? A nouveau riche doesn't walk the normal path. TSK. How is he a nouveau riche? He just clung onto young Master Ning's thigh and has City Lord Ning's support. In the end, the Ning family will pay. Changhe Luo's expression instantly turned extremely ugly. He wanted to get the soul song for 500,000. He thought that no one would compete with him. The refined scholar was fine, but Qin Hao was even worse. He raised the soul song to 1,500,000. 1,500,000. This was all that Changhe Lo had. It was all that the spirit beast sect master had given him. It was not that the sect master was stingy, but the spirit beast sect was poor and had many disciples, who didn't need to cultivate. Chang Hello was the sect master's direct disciple. 1,500,000 was not a small amount. However, he couldn't imagine that Qin Hao would be so nouveau riche. Chang Helo's hands trembled a little. At this time, among the 8 pavilions, there was one that belonged to the Ning royal family. Chao Fan, does your teacher know music? Ning Hongxian asked. He was in the pavilion, but he could see the scene outside at a glance. Generally speaking, the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects would not pay attention to other people's bidding unless they saw something they liked. However, Qin Hao's identity was a little special. After all, he was considered a member of the Ning family. I'm not too sure about this. Ning Chaofan smiled. Music? Maybe his teacher knew music. After all, he knew how to forge weapons, refine pills, and set up formations. If Qin Hao knew music, it would be normal because he wasn't human. In that case, you can go. As a member of the Ning royal family, help your teacher get the soul song. Ning Hongxian said. Thank you, brother. Ning Chaofan took the order and left. Brother 1. 5 million is not a small amount. Is it worth it for an outsider? Ning Feiyang, the 3rd prince, said with some dissatisfaction. If his brother asked Ning Chaofan to go, wouldn't the Ning royal family pay for the bidding? Your Highness, the 3rd prince, Golden Light City will pay for Mr. Qin's money. We won't touch the national treasury. City Governor Ning said. Ning Feiyang's eyebrows twitched. Wasn't the Golden Light City's money the Ning family's money? Wasn't it the same? Feiyang, don't be so short-sighted. Ning Hongxian said. He thought for a while and said, Come, tell the 3rd prince what we've found. Yes, your highness. A powerful warrior with a sword on his back walked in. He knelt on one knee and said in a deep voice, The outstanding woman in the Xianyuan family team is Chaofan's teacher's woman. She's now under Xianyuan Wuying's control. She'll be the 19th concubine the day after tomorrow. Boom. Ning Feiyang's head trembled. Was it true? This was not the result he wanted to see. Because it might cause a conflict between the Ning family and the Xianyuan family. Xianyuan Wuying cares about that woman very much. Although she's his 19th concubine, she may be his legal concubine in the future, Ning Hongxian said. Your Highness. City Governor Ning suddenly stood up. He was a little anxious. Since it had been confirmed, he certainly hoped that the 1st prince would intervene and let Xianyuan Wuying hand over the woman. After all, Qin Hao had saved Ning Chaofan's life. The Ning family owed Qin Hao. However, Ning Feiyang's face turned gloomy and he didn't say a word. 7th uncle, sit down. There's no hurry. Ning Hongxian waved his hand and asked City Governor Ning to sit back down. Then he looked outside the attic and fixed his eyes on Qin Hao. You want thriller song? Sure. The Ning family will pay for it? Sure. But it's over. Alas. City Governor Ning sighed helplessly. How could he not understand that Ning Hongxian wanted to cut off Qin Hao's escape route and didn't want to save him? But City Governor Ning had no other choice. He was afraid that this time, as a father, he would disappoint his son. 1. 6 million. 1. 8 million. 1. 9 million. Outside, the bidding for Thriller Song was still going on. But Chang Hello didn't have anything to do with it. From the moment he called out 500,000, the situation was completely out of control. At present, only Qin Hao and the Elegant Scholar were competing. 1. 9 million was what the Elegant Scholar called out. What do you think? If you add another 100,000, I'll give up. The Elegant Scholar smiled faintly and looked at Qin Hao with clear eyes. There was no hostility, only appreciation. If Qin Hao really liked Thriller Song, he was willing to give it up. It wasn't that the storyteller was scared. He didn't care about money, but he didn't want Qin Hao to sacrifice too much for it. A gentleman should help others achieve their dreams. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1258. Ancestral Ning family. Qin Hao met that clear gaze. He knew that it wasn't because he couldn't win, but because he wanted to help him. However, Qin Hao really didn't understand music scores. He was only competing to suppress Chang Hello. At this moment, he was considering whether he should give it to the refined scholar. After all, Chang Hello was too poor to continue competing. The martial artists from the three regions watched the two of them, waiting to see what choice Qin Hao would make. Would he continue to raise the price and take back the Zither Emperor's lost art? Or would he admit defeat and withdraw from the competition? 2 million. Panic song. The Herbal Medicine Hall will accept it. Tang Xingchen suddenly stood up. Everyone was surprised. Why would someone from the Herbal Medicine Hall bid for it if they weren't good at music scores? Tang Xingchen smiled. Although I'm not good at music, this song is Senior Qin Kuang's lost art. Qin Kuang was peerless when he was alive. Wouldn't it be tarnished if his art fell into the hands of a rascal? My sworn brother, Chang Hello, was accepted as a personal disciple by the Spirit Beast Sect's sect leader. His musical attainments are unparalleled among his peers. Only heroes deserve treasures. I bid for the Panic Song as a gift to my sworn brother. I hope you won't refuse. Tang Xingchen said to Chang Hello from afar. The martial artists immediately understood. Tang Xingchen wanted to give it to Chang Hello. The Herbal Medicine Hall was so generous. However, they had the backing of Hao. 2 million earth crystals was nothing to the alchemy sect. However, Tang Xingchen's words were a bit harsh. If Qin Hao obtained the music score, it would be tarnished. If Chang Hello obtained it, it would be a treasure worthy of a hero. Was he purposely stepping on their faces? Thank you, brother. Although I'm not talented, I can't bear to see Senior's lost art fall into the hands of someone who doesn't understand music. I'll accept the music score. Chang Hello smiled, exuding a free and easy aura. He bowed in the direction of the Herbal Medicine Hall's sect leader, Tang Du. At the end of the day, Tang Du had the final say in the Herbal Medicine Hall. He didn't stop him, which meant that he had tacitly approved of Tang Xingchen's actions. Moreover, the Spirit Beast sect and the Herbal Pill Hall had been on good terms for generations. The closer the relationship between the two most outstanding juniors was, the happier the elders would be. Not long after, the South Pole Divine Palace would open. The younger generation of the two first-rate forces would join forces. Thriller Song deserved to be fought for. 2,210,000. Qin Hao's face darkened as he stood up to bid. Stepping on my face? Herbal Medicine Hall? On the other hand, Qin Hao felt sorry for the refined scholar. It seemed that there was no way he could give the song to him. Boy, I've told you that you won't get anything. Do you want to compete with me? Tang Xingchen laughed silently and shouted, 22 million. 25 million. The Ning family wants the music score. Why don't you try shouting again? A figure stepped out of the pavilion. It was Ning Chaofan. Ignoring all the bidders present, he went up the stage and grabbed the Thriller Song in Jelly's hand. He went directly to Qin Hao and said with a smile, Teacher, this is a gift from your disciple. Only in your hands can the Thriller Song show the brilliance of the Zither maniac. Wouldn't it be tarnished if it fell into the hands of others? Ning Chaofan looked at Li Beitong and said expressionlessly, Master Li, you can announce it now. This. The square was silent. The Ning family was too domineering. Of course, Golden Light City was the Ning family's territory. A strong dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its own territory. The Herbal Medicine Hall's failure was justified. Besides, the Ning family wasn't a snake. They were real dragons. They were one of the top forces of the Three Kings. Who could shake them? Even though Tang Du was unhappy, there was nothing he could do. He secretly shook his head at Tang Xingchen, indicating that he had given up. At least you have some conscience. My brother-in-law didn't save you for nothing. When Kair saw that Ning Chaofan had returned, she rolled her eyes at him. She was very angry just now that someone had questioned her brother-in-law's ability. Was Chang-Helo a hero? Was he worthy? Miss Kaur, please calm down. I will perform well in front of teacher in the future. Teacher knows what I'm thinking, right? Ning Chaofan winked at Qin Hao. Yes, I'm starting to think that the battle armor suits you. Qin Hao patted Ning Chaofan's shoulder. Ning Chaofan was overjoyed. It was all for the Cancer Temple's battle armor. Wait! Tang Xingchen was angry. Since the sect leader had said that he would give up, he naturally couldn't compete with Ning Chaofan. However, he still wanted to try. Young Master Ning, all the major sects in the southern mountain range know that the Spiritual Beast sect is the best at music. The Thriller song is a good match for my sworn brother. It's his favorite. Why do you have to snatch it from him? Wasn't the humiliation yesterday not harsh enough? If you snatch his Thriller song, won't you be destroying his future? What does his future have to do with us? According to what you said, the Thriller song was passed down by Chang-Helo's ancestors and belongs to him? Qin Hao glanced at Tang Xingchen. There was something wrong with this person's brain. Idiot! Do you know how to play the guqin? Tang Xingchen was so angry that his body trembled. If you don't disgrace Senior Guqin Kuang's unique skill, the guqin score can be yours. But before that, do you dare to play a song with my sworn brother? I have to play just because you asked me to. Who do you think you are? Qin Hao didn't have time to pay attention to him and sat back down. Not to mention that he really didn't know how to play the song. Even if he did, how could he play it for everyone to hear? Who did he think Dendi was? A street performer? Enough, we don't want this Thriller song. Leader Wan of the Spiritual Beast sect roared. His eyes were red with anger. At this point, the outcome couldn't be changed. After all, the Ning family was a top force. Creak. Chang-Helo's hand that was holding the flute was bursting with blue veins. He stared coldly at Qin Hao and said, I hope that one day, you can listen to me play a song to purify your soul. I'm afraid that your song will dirty my ears. Qin Hao replied bluntly. Purify me? I still want to refine a pill for you. Let's see who will purify who. This storm temporarily subsided. The disciples of the Spiritual Beast sect were extremely angry. However, due to the power of the Ning family, they couldn't vent their anger. The auction continued. Brother, you really don't know how to play the song? The elegant scholar asked. Compared to before, his tone was a bit colder. He withdrew from the competition because he thought that Qin Hao knew how to play the song, loved it, and appreciated it. He had the talent for it. However, if the other party was really just here to make up the numbers and was purely a troublemaker, he couldn't tolerate the Thriller song being buried. Yes, I really don't know. I'm really sorry, Qin Hao said frankly. When dealing with magnanimous people, he naturally had to be open and aboveboard. Why bother? Alas, double the reward. Give me the song, the elegant scholar said. Who do you think you are? Ning Chaofan stared at the elegant scholar. Who was he? Did he think he didn't exist? I'll say it one last time. Give me the song. If not, the owner of Golden Light City will change. Do you believe me? The elegant scholar warned Ning Chaofan with a cold look in his eyes. This glance seemed to penetrate Ning Chaofan's body, making him shudder. At the same time, two middle-aged men in green walked out from each side of the elegant scholar. They were very strong and had a heavy aura, giving people a sense of oppression like a giant mountain. In front of these two, even Qin Hao felt great pressure. Brother, stop. The song is yours. Qin Hao took out the Thriller song and threw it to the other party. He didn't intend to bid, but he didn't like Chang-Helo. The elegant scholar was a generous person. The other party must be an expert in music. Anyway, it was useless to keep the song's score by his side, so he might as well give it to the other party now. More importantly, the two middle-aged men in green next to him were Emperor stage powerhouses. It wouldn't be easy to clean up the mess. The elegant scholar was startled. Gift? He had bid for more than 2 million without batting an eyelid. I don't mean anything else. I didn't mean to compete with you before. If you feel uncomfortable, you can give me the price you paid for it, Qin Hao said, secretly transmitting the cultivation of the two middle-aged men in green to Ning Chaofan. Ning Chaofan's face suddenly became serious. Emperor stage slaves? This elegant scholar was not a simple person. Interesting. The elegant scholar couldn't help but look at Qin Hao a few more times. The guy who was so arrogant just now was giving it away. Was the Thriller song so worthless? I won't let you suffer a loss. The elegant youth smiled and waved to the middle-aged man beside him. The middle-aged man took 2 steps forward, took out a ring, and handed it to Qin Hao. There were 5 million earth crystals in it. Before you act arrogant in the future, find out who you're facing. Don't forget your ancestors. The scholarly youth put away the soul-harrowing song and calmly looked at Ning Chaofan. This junior of the Ning clan gave him a very bad feeling. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1259. Ancestral Line? Ancestral Line? This was a humiliation to the Golden Light City bloodline, a humiliation to the Ning royal family. It was a blatant provocation and trampling, and it was within the Ning Wu Empire. Ting! Ning Chaofan stood up. His eyes were like ice, but the blood in his body erupted like a volcano. No matter who the refined scholar was, no matter how great the power behind him was, even if he had an emperor's servant by his side, there was no room for discussion in this battle. Do you want to die? Ning Chaofan spoke, looking at the refined scholar. The refined scholar ignored Ning Chaofan's anger, as if it was unimportant. He smiled and asked, "Where is the Ning clan's ancestral line?" "Of course it's in the Ning Wu Empire," Ning Chaofan shouted. The whole southern region knew, even ghosts knew. The refined scholar shook his head. His eyes were still calm, without any distracting thoughts. In the past, the southern region was in turmoil. Heroes rose and killings were endless. There were no 3 emperors in that era. It was chaotic and bloody. Ancestor Ning Wu couldn't bear the oppression of the strong. He led his clan and his 5 sons to conquer the empire's territory. He established a prosperous Ning Wu empire, and the people lived in peace. However, of the 153 clan members who went to war, 138 died. Of the 5 sons, 3 died. What is the ranking of your so-called Ning Wu Empire bloodline? This. Ning Chaofan was stunned. This was the ancient history of the Ning clan, so he naturally knew about it. Why did the refined scholar know about it? And it seemed to be even more detailed. When ancestor Ning Wu went to war, 3 of his 5 sons died, leaving only 2. One was the 3rd son, and the other was the 5th son. Today, Ning Wu Empire was sitting on the throne, and he was the descendant of the 5th son. The Golden Light City bloodline was the same. It was just that the Golden Light City bloodline was not the direct line. However, above the 5 sons there was a 3rd son, who was also the orthodox line. According to the genealogy, the ancestor established the Ning Wu Empire. He died the next year, and the throne was inherited by the 5 sons. In fact, this was not the case. Logically speaking, the eldest brother was the leader, and the 3rd son should be the Ning Wu Emperor, whose prestige could shake the world. But he gave up. He brought his wife and children back to the Ning family's birthplace, and hid his achievements and fame. Before she left, she only glanced at him once. Her eyes were filled with love for her youngest brother. The emperor was not important. 5 brothers had left the mountain and 3 had died. He only wanted his younger brother to be safe. He wanted to sit in a prosperous era and become the emperor. My surname is also Ning. I'm from the Grand Ding Duchy. His tone was as calm as ever. He took out a token and threw it into Ning Chaofan's arms. Ning Chaofan lowered his head and glanced over. His face was filled with fear and his legs trembled. He suddenly knelt down in front of the scholar, trembling uneasily and unable to speak. That's right, the origin of the Ning family's ancestral line was a forest in the Grand Ding Duchy. Now, the forest had become the king's palace. As for Martial Ning Imperial City, although it was called a holy land by the Ning clan, only the descendants of the fifth son lived there. In fact, the true origin of the Ning family's ancestral line was in the Grand Ding Duchy. They came from there. Ning Chaofan's breathing was heavy, and his whole body was drenched in sweat. He finally knew the identity of the scholar. No wonder he dared to disregard the dignity of the Martial Ning imperial family. It was because he had enough status. Not to mention Ning Chaofan, even City Lord Ning and Ning Hongxian were nothing. Even the current Ning Wu Emperor, in terms of seniority, had to call this elegant scholar as his great-grandfather. Although the Grand Ding Duchy was only a duchy, in terms of territory, it was under the control of the Martial Ning Empire. But in reality, who dared to control it? As long as the Grand Ding Duchy left the mountain, Emperor Ningwu would have to hand over the country. Qin Hao watched quietly. The scholar in the dark was indeed not a simple character. He scared Ning Chaofan to this extent with just one sentence. Although he could not guess who the other party was, it was not difficult to see that the scholar had considerable weight in the entire Ning clan. You're a junior of the same family. I have no intention to bicker with you. However, as a descendant of the Ning family, you shouldn't be too superficial when judging people in the future. Get up, the scholar said. Ning Chaofan trembled as he got up. He bowed and handed the token to the other party. He did not dare to raise his head and said, "You're right. Grandson will remember it in his heart. Do you want me to not inform?" Ning Chaofan looked back at the attic. Ning Hongxian and Ning Hongxian were sitting inside. Now that the ancestor was at the door, it would be improper not to kneel. No need. From now on, you don't know me and I don't know you. You don't know where I come from. Understand? The scholar said, his voice still so calm. But at this moment, every word he said was like a divine power bombarding Ning Chaofan's heart. I understand, I understand, I understand. Ning Chaofan nodded repeatedly. Even if he did not understand the ancestor's words, he had to understand. He really did not expect that someone from the great Ding family would come to this auction. You may leave. The scholar smiled. He actually did not want to reveal his identity. Ning Chaofan was not worthy of his guidance. As he said, he just did not want the Ning family to be so superficial. Ning Chaofan returned to Qin Hao's side. After a brief conversation, he seemed to have wandered on the edge of life and death. After returning, he seemed to have lost all his strength. The arrogance on his body was completely gone. He had completely lost his temper. A sentence from the scholar could indeed easily change the master of the Golden Light City branch. Oh, you look like a grandson meeting his ancestor. Are you shocked? Qin Hao lowered his head and said to Ning Chaofan. Ning Chaofan did not dare to say anything. Then Qin Hao turned around and looked at the scholar. Big brother, is your family in the Great Ding Duchy? Plop. Ning Chaofan slid down from his chair in fright. The ancestor had just said that he was not allowed to say where he came from. Was his teacher trying to kill him? It would be better to stab himself. At least he would not implicate the people of the Golden Light City branch. Yes. The scholar smiled. He was amiable and approachable, not at all as terrifying as Ning Chaofan had seen. I have something to discuss. For the sake of thriller song, can you help? Qin Hao's eyes lit up. 23, Education 123 Literature Network. Chapter 1260. In the Huaishi County of the Great Ding Duchy, there was a place called the Nanlu Ruins. According to the Zhang family ancestors' analysis, Jing Qingqi's clansmen walked out of the Nanlu ruins. Li Wanji told Qin how that Ling Tianyu needed a sword herb to enchant the Great Void Divine Sword. The sword herb also grew in the Nanlu ruins. Since the refined scholar was from the Great Ding Duchy, he was the perfect guide. After all, Qin Hao only knew the general route and the exact location of the Nanlu ruins. He would have to continue searching when he arrived. Just say it, the refined scholar said calmly. I want a stalk of sword grass, the older the better. After the auction is over, can you be my guide and take me to the ruins of southern Lu Mountain? Qin Hao replied with a bleak look in his eyes. He wondered if he would be able to survive after the auction. The two middle-aged men in green looked unhappy, their eyes cold. How dare he ask the crown prince of the Great Ding Duchy to be his guide? It's a small matter, no problem. The refined scholar agreed with a smile. He liked the frightening soul song very much. Although Qin Hao was a little arrogant, he was a reasonable person and gave him a good impression. The two middle-aged men in green were stunned. The crown prince actually agreed? The crown prince liked peace and quiet and did not like to interact with others. He rarely went out and only indulged in music. He heard that the Guqin maniac's music would appear in this auction, so he made a rare trip. Yet, he agreed to be a guide for a stranger? They found it unbelievable that the frightening soul song had such a high position in the crown prince's heart. It must be because of this that he agreed to Qin Hao's request. However, the white-haired martial artist was lucky to be accompanied by the crown prince of the Great Ding Duchy. One could imagine how sensational and glorious the scene would be. Thank you. Qin Hao cupped his fists and turned around. Their actions did not attract anyone's attention. At this moment the auction was in full swing. Everyone was crazily bidding for the treasures. Even Emperor Gu, who was closest to them, was so excited that he was blowing his beard and glaring at them. Who would keep their eyes on Qin Hao and Ning Chaofan? In this short period of time, there were more than 20 big transactions on the auction floor. Some people managed to bid for their favorite items, while others managed to sell their items for the ideal price. Although there was constant friction between the various powers, with the Xianyuan clan clamoring for the Li clan and the Blazing Sun Temple clashing with the Wuk Sword sect. However, their influence was not great. At most, they would quarrel a little. Even the top forces did not dare to fight. In the following auction, Qin Hao participated in 3 more auctions. The first 2 were still targeted at Changhelo. Changhelo didn't bring much money, but his appetite wasn't small. Almost all the treasures caught his eye, and he couldn't wait to buy them all one by one. Unfortunately, the Spirit Beast sect was too poor. However, after the soul-shaking song, an emperor-grade Guqin and a string of beast bells appeared. Qin Hao didn't decline. The price he shouted was much higher than Changhelo's. After successfully obtaining both items, Changhelo was so angry that he vomited blood in front of everyone. Tang Xingchen really wanted to step forward, but Ning Chaofan wasn't someone to be trifled with either. Even though Tang Xingchen wanted to stand up for Changhelo, he couldn't. He felt extremely vexed. This was especially true when Qin Hao made a move for the 3rd time. He targeted the herbal pill hall and inexplicably caused the herbal pill hall to lose a lot of money. In fact, the grades of those pills weren't high. They were meant for Yuan Monarch and Yuan Venerate Martialists. The herbal pill hall's methods were also good, as they were all high-grade pills. They could only blame themselves for running into Dendi. Qin Hao's attainments in the alchemy Dao were too strong, and he didn't play by the rules. In the end, the herbal pill hall had lost a lot of face in front of millions of people. The pills hadn't achieved the desired effect, and had almost caused the auction to fail. In the end, Sect Master Tang Du apologized in front of everyone. He gritted his teeth and sold the pills at a low price. He didn't even earn back the cost of the ingredient. This was the sect's most humiliating incident in several hundred years. This time, it had greatly affected the herbal pill hall's reputation. It would be very difficult for them to do business in the future. In fact, Qin Hao's actions were paving the way for Dan Ji's rise. How could Duanmu Qinghui not understand? There was no problem with the herbal pill hall's pills. It was Qin Hao's testing method that had deceived everyone and reduced the medicinal efficacy of the pills. Even Tang Du hadn't been able to see any clues. Duanmu Qinghui also took a while to figure out the reason, but he wouldn't say it. After all, he and Qin Hao had a very friendly relationship. Herbal pill hall's Tang Du? He didn't have any friendship. Big brother, I'll give this guqin to you. Qin Hao handed the emperor-level guqin to the refined scholar. The refined scholar didn't refuse. When the guqin was auctioned, he was also moved. However, Qin Hao was faster and saved him a lot of effort. How much did you buy it for? I won't let you suffer a loss. The refined scholar said gently. He took the guqin and ordered the imperial servant beside him to give the earth crystals to Qin Hao. After a while, Qin Hao and the refined scholar chatted more and more happily. Both of them weren't mediocre people and got along quite well. Big brother, His Highness the Crown Prince seems to be quite friendly with this white-haired junior. A middle-aged man with a sharp face secretly transmitted to the refined scholar. It's been a long time since I've seen His Highness so happy, another middle-aged man in blue replied. Why don't we bring this person back to the duchy and let him be His Highness's page boy to relieve His Highness' boredom? The middle-aged man with a sharp face continued. After the auction ends, I'll test this child's talent. If he passes, there's no harm in bringing him back, the older middle-aged man said. The middle-aged man with a sharp face nodded. As the two conversed secretly, Qin Hao didn't know that he had already caught the attention of the great Ding imperial family. I believe that everyone has benefited greatly from the auction. However, I'm sure everyone knows that the final treasure of this year's auction is the Saint Soul pill brought by Western Liang's Dangu. Although this pill's grade isn't high, it has epoch-making significance and is enough to change the entire continent. This pill ignores a martial artist's talent and aptitude. There's no need to refine it. It can be upgraded in 1 second with a 100% success rate. There's no pain, no struggle. If an ordinary farmer eats one, he can instantly become a Saint Realm martial artist. It can be called a divine pill. Above the auction stage, Li Beitong's voice was like a stream flowing through the hearts of millions of people. At this moment, even the top appraiser couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. The Saint Soul pill was worthy of the title of Divine Pill. Is it finally time? Qin Hao's lips slowly curled into a smile. Next up would be the auction of the two ancient beasts Huang and Ah He and the Saint Soul pill. After that, it would be time to save Xiao Han. Looking at the 7 pavilions behind the auction stage, they were like 7 ancient gods of war. They were tall and mighty, and people could only look up to them. The 3 emperors and 4 sects were the absolute representatives of the southern region's strength. Rescuing Xiao Han from under their noses would definitely cause a sensation in the entire southern region. Faintly, Qin Hao was trembling with excitement. Teacher, don't worry. My eldest brother said that once it's confirmed that Master's wife is in the hands of the Xianyuan family, the entire royal family will help you. My father will also support you. Ning Chaofan said softly. Even he knew that the auction was about to end. Qin Hao smiled calmly. The entire royal family of Ning Wu would help him? It was possible to trick Ning Chaofan, but to trick Dende? Ning Hongxian was still too inexperienced. Of course, City Lord Ning was sincere in wanting to help. Everyone present knew how much he loved Ning Chaofan. However, City Lord Ning couldn't represent the royal family of Ning Wu. He wanted to help, but he couldn't. Ning Chaofan, since we've known each other for a long time, I'll give you a treasure. Give me your hand. Qin Hao said. He looked at Ning Chaofan seriously. This disciple of the royal family's side branch was arrogant in the coiling dragon wonder. He had given Qin Hao a terrible impression. He had even made Qin Hao want to kill him. However, Ning Chaofan had sacrificed himself to save Ke in the mystic realm. He had followed Qin Hao all the way here, and he no longer had the airs of a young master. Qin Hao also saw this in his heart. Just as he said, he was sincere in becoming a disciple. However, their relationship as master and disciple had ended here. It wasn't that Qin Hao was cruel, but that the world was cruel. Chapter 1261. Fighting for the ancient beast. Ning Chaofan stretched out his hand, feeling very excited. Was teacher finally willing to give up the Cancer Temple battle armor? The 12 Ecliptic Palace's battle armor, regardless of its grade or quality, its materials and refining methods were all ridiculously strong. Every one of them could be said to be invincible under Emperor weapons. During the siege of the 12 palaces, the Mystic Realm martial artists had suffered heavy casualties. The Cancer Temple battle armor was both offensive and defensive. It had a pair of glove-like pincers on the wrist that could be retracted freely. It was shaped like a weapon and was most suitable for Ning Chaofan. After he wore it, it perfectly matched his cultivation technique and Scissors' source spirit. He had been longing for it for a long time. He had done all kinds of lowly things for Qin Hao, but his teacher had never been willing to give it to him. Today, his eldest brother had only shown his face once and expressed his attitude, yet his teacher had changed his mind. Ning Chaofan secretly thought that Ning Hongshuan's face was still big. He was worthy of being the crown prince, mighty to the extreme. Ning Chaofan's admiration for his eldest brother grew. But how could he know that Qin Hao giving the Cancer Temple battle armor had nothing to do with Ning Hongxian? He wanted to cut off Qin Hao's path of retreat and draw a clear line between them. Wasn't Qin Hao doing the same? By giving away the Cancer Temple battle armor, Qin Hao did not want people to think that he owed the Ning family anything. Of course, he did not owe the Ning family anything. He had even brought back a complete son for City Lord Ning. The two people's palms came close to each other. With a thought, a faint light was transferred from Qin Hao's interspatial ring to Ning Chaofan's ring. Qin Hao had also completely cut off the connection between the Cancer Temple and the Sagittarius Temple. From now on, the Cancer Temple battle armor only recognized Ning Chaofan. "Thank you, teacher." Ning Chaofan felt it for a moment. A dazzling golden battle armor was floating inside the ring, releasing a majestic and powerful aura. He was extremely excited. Artifacts are external objects. You can only be strong if you are strong. You cannot rely on it too much. In the future, you will have to rely on yourself. Qin Hao advised, but his heart was a little sad. In name, he was not his disciple. However, along the way, Qin Hao had selflessly imparted the essence of many formations to him. Wasn't Qin Hao also his disciple? In his previous life, Qin Hao only had 6 disciples, and Ning Chaofan was the 7th. "Teacher, what do you mean?" Ning Chaofan suddenly felt a little cold. It was as if the Cancer Temple battlesuit had unknowingly severed some sort of relationship between him and Qin Hao. This feeling was very unbearable. "Haha, it's nothing. I advise you to work harder." Qin Hao pretended that nothing had happened and said with a smile. Ning Chaofan was a dandy disciple through and through. He could be arrogant, but he was no match for Ning Hongxian when it came to imperial power. At this moment, the auction had reached a critical moment. With Li Beitong's explanation of the Saint Soul Elixir, many forces were in high spirits and prepared to compete. However, as Qin Hao had guessed, they did not directly present the Saint Soul Elixir. Instead, they first auctioned off Ahei and Huang. Ancient beasts were not ordinary demonic beasts. They were very rare and should be called rare beasts or quasi-divine beasts. After all, the ancient centaurs contained the power of God's blessing in their bodies. Centaurs were born with strong physical resistance, and were immune to 50% of physical attack. Because of the power of God, they were immune to 30% of elemental energy attack. They were almost invincible against those of the same level. If they were classified as human prodigies, with Ah He and Huang's talents, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they were among the top prodigies of the southern region. For example, they might not be stronger than Yu Qianyang of the Blazing Sun Temple or Shou Wuk of the Wuk Sword sect, but they were definitely stronger than Chang Helou of the Spiritual Beast sect and Tang Xingchen of the Herbal Elixir Hall. Buying them was equivalent to buying 2 superclass prodigies. Who wouldn't be tempted? Prodigies were always in short supply. As for cultivation resources, that was secondary. No matter how many resources there were, if a sect did not have any talents, it would be a waste. With Ah He and Huang's talents, even if they could not be treated fairly by humans, they would still be terrifying when they cultivated to the level of a beast emperor. The people of the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects would not be absent from this transaction. When Qin Hao raised his head to look at the auction stage, one of the Blazing Sun Temple's experts on the 7 stone pillars moved. He made a grabbing motion in the air, and 2 huge iron cages flew over, landing heavily on the square. Suddenly the ground shook. In the iron cages, Ah He and Huang struggled frantically. Previously, Ning Chaofan had told them not to resist as they would only suffer in vain. Qin Hao would save them. However, at this moment they were being watched by millions of people as if they were monkeys. How could Ah He and Huang not be angry? They were the precious beasts of the Medicine Valley, the loyal guardians and supporters of the Beast Emperor. They had always regarded humans as ants. They had never been treated like monkeys by the humans they despised. Silence! The expert from the Blazing Sun Temple shouted as he circulated his powerful fire attack. A flaming whip appeared in his hand out of thin air, and with a sharp whistling sound, he whipped Ah He and Ah Huang from high up in the sky. Even though the centaur beasts had amazing resistance, the whip still left a huge bloody wound on their bodies, and their flesh was torn open. Roar! The dog's spirit stood upright, flames coming out of its mouth as it glared at the Blazing Sun Temple expert. Don't be rash! Qin Hao transmitted his voice. The dog's spirit sat back down, but its eyes were filled with hatred. Everyone, in the ancient times, the celestial race and the demon race fought a great war. Many rare beasts joined the battle and made great contributions. In the end, the celestial realm won and suppressed the demon race in the 9 underworld. However, the mortal realm was also affected. Bones were everywhere, and many injured beasts were unable to return to the celestial realm. They were gradually forgotten by the celestial race. The 2 centaur warriors on the stage were also part of the celestial race. Old Man doesn't need to say more about their talents. All the sect masters and sect masters are influential figures in the southern region. You should know. Li Beitong said. Master Li, there's no need to say more. Just name the price. The Thunder Demon Temple will definitely get these 2 beasts. Someone shouted. You think we'll get what you say? We, the Rune Origin Pavilion, want these 2 beasts. Everyone in the southern region knows that the Spirit Beast sect, from the sect elders to the disciples and servants, all cultivate the Tao of beast taming. Demonic beasts are the foundation of our sect's survival. I hope you won't snatch our treasures. Elder One said. He was the same as Chang Helou. He spoke as if all the treasures in today's auction belonged to the Spirit Beast sect, and others were snatching their things. The Lufeng Kingdom wants these 2 beasts. The Heavenly Divine Platform won't let you get what you want. The Arhat Palace lacks 2 divine guardian beasts. The Night Luo Palace also lacks. Instantly there was a heated debate. Not only the first-rate forces but also the small forces, small countries, and even the top forces were showing a tough stance. However, in the 7 pavilions, the Wuk Sword sect, the Li family, the Xianyuan family, and Ning Hongxian were all tempted. Ahei and Huang were extremely valuable. Once they grew into beast emperors, they would be terrifying existences among the emperor level. Only the people from the Blazing Sun Temple had cold smiles on their faces. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1262. See Luke Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The competition was intense. The 2 ancient beasts were unyielding and unyielding. They could not be tamed, not even by the spirit beast sect. Once the methods were too harsh, they would rather commit suicide than submit to the will of humans. If not, why would the Blazing Sun Temple auction them? Wouldn't it be better to keep them as their guardian beasts? They would be suitable to be Yu Qianyang's demon pet. The sect members were too naive. So, instead of keeping them useless, they might as well earn some money to spend. They were picked up anyway. Sect leaders, you are all people of status. If you quarrel and break the relationship between the sect, won't you become a joke to the younger generation? Save your energy to compete with the price. Now, Old Man announces that 1 ancient beast will be 800,000 earth crystals, 2 will be 1,600,000. The starting bid will be 2 million earth crystals. Each bid must not be lower than 200,000 earth crystals. The highest bidder wins. Let's begin. Li Beitong looked at the experts of the Blazing Sun Temple on the stone pillar and smiled faintly. The atmosphere had been stirred up by him. The final price of the ancient beasts would depend on the opinions of the big shots below. The experts of the Blazing Sun Temple returned the gesture. The ancient beasts were precious. If not for Li Beitong's strong instigation, the bidding for the ancient beasts would not be so intense. He was indeed Mr. Fenghua. 2 million earth crystals? Many people's hearts trembled. The lively scene suddenly became silent. It was too high. Small forces could not compete at all. The starting price was enough to make them shrink back. Master Li, why is the price so high? Chang Helo shouted. Among everyone, he was the most uncomfortable. The sect leader only gave him 1,500,000 earth crystals. He was determined to get the ancient beast. However, when it came to the competition, he did not have enough money. Furthermore, he had been continuously suppressed by Qin Hao. Thus, he had taken a liking to many treasures. However, the reality was that Chang Helo had yet to obtain even a single strand of hair. As the eldest disciple of the spirit beast sect, who could understand this feeling? Yes, Master Li. 1 ancient beast is 800,000 earth crystals, 2 is 1,600,000 earth crystals. But why is your starting price at 2 million earth crystals? It's against the rules, isn't it? Could it be that Master Li thinks we don't know how to count? A sect leader questioned. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with Master Li. It's our Blazing Sun Temple's fault for not making things clear. Everyone, please take a look. The Blazing Sun Temple's expert waved the flaming whip in his hand. This whip is made from the mountain rocks of our Blazing Sun Mountain. It's tempered in the sacred fire and infused with Yuan Qi to guide the fire elemental energy. Its lethality is astonishing. Even though it's only a middle exalted level artifact, you've all seen how the ancient beast's powerful immunity was unable to withstand the might of that whip. These 2 vile beasts are extremely unyielding. If we want to tame them, without our Blazing Sun Temple's flame whip, I'm afraid it won't be easy. At this point, the Blazing Sun Temple expert revealed a treacherous smile. So, including this whip, the total is 2 million. I see. Everyone came to a sudden realization. Buying 2 ancient beasts for a free whip seemed to be a good deal. The Blazing Sun Temple was very righteous. However, a mere medium Zun weapon cost 400,000 earth crystal stones. That kind of broken item wasn't worth it at all. After all, a medium Zune weapon was only worth 400,000 earth crystal stones. Wasn't the blazing sun temple robbing a burning house? Although they thought so in their hearts, no one dared to say it out loud. No one was stupid enough to provoke the top forces. Moreover, the blazing sun temple's flames seemed to have a restraining effect on the ancient beast. If it weren't for their powerful immunity, a mere Zune weapon wouldn't be able to harm them at all. After all, the two ancient beasts were also Zune beasts. This, Elder Wan, what should we do? Chang-Helo looked at the other party anxiously. Buying the two ancient beasts was his master's order. It wasn't just for his own good, it was also related to the sex matters. One must know that the two ancient beasts' talents were astonishing. In the future, they wouldn't be weaker than Chang-Helo. They might even be stronger than him. Let's go find Master Tang. Follow the old man. Elder Wan led all the spirit beast sect disciples towards the purple area. At this point, it was impossible for them to withdraw from the competition. The ancient beasts were too important. The only thing they could do now was to ask for Tang Du's help. Soon, the spirit beast sect team passed through the crowd and met up with the herbal medicine hall. No one knew what Elder Wan said to Master Tang, but Tang Du's eyes lit up. He nodded heavily and said loudly, 2 million. I'll take the ancient beasts. Since the spirit beast sect was willing to pay 1 million earth crystals for one of the ancient beasts, they would help the herbal medicine hall tame the other one for free. Every year, they would choose a few other demonic beasts and tame them as mounts for the herbal medicine hall disciples. Naturally, Master Tang wouldn't refuse. After all, alchemists were actually very weak. Because they spent most of their time refining pills, their cultivation was lacking. If they had a powerful demonic beast to protect them, their combat power would greatly increase. 2 million. As someone spoke, a second voice sounded. Everyone raised their heads to look at the source of the voice. It was an extremely muscular, bald, and wearing shorts on one of the 7 stone pillars. It was an expert from the Arhut Palace who had spoken. The Arhut Palace was participating in the competition. 2 million, a half-step female emperor on the 7 stone pillars said coldly. Since she was a woman, she was obviously a powerhouse from the Night Luo Palace. Her expression seemed to be more serious than everyone else's. She gave people the feeling that she had to win the ancient beast. 6 million. Suddenly, a majestic voice came from a pavilion. It came from the Li family of Bao. 8 million. Closely after that, Xianyuan Wuba's arrogant roar sounded. Hiss. Everyone was shocked. The 3 sovereigns and 4 sects had intervened. This meant that the second-rate and first-rate forces had lost the right to compete. At this moment, many nobles and high and mighty sect leaders shook their heads. Since the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects had intervened, they had nothing to do with it. In the purple area, the elegant scholar smiled at Qin Hao. Although the ancient beasts were very talented and precious, he didn't like them. He only loved music. But this time, would the white-haired cultivator participate? Uncle Tang Du. Chang-Helo was extremely nervous. First-rate forces couldn't participate when the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects showed up. This was almost an unspoken rule in the southern region. Otherwise, it might lead to the destruction of the sections. Don't worry. Tang Du wasn't calm either. He didn't expect that the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects, who had so many emperor-level cultivators, would compete for 2 venerable-level demonic beasts. The ancient beast's potential was indeed great. Although he felt a little pressured, Tang Du wasn't scared. He wasn't an ordinary person. He was one of the few royal-grade alchemists in the southern region. He was a very special existence. Although his alchemy skills were a little inferior to Duanmu Qinghui, the first elder of the left faction of the Wan Cultivator Alliance, he firmly believed that the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects wouldn't vent their anger on him because of the 2 ancient beasts. After all, the southern region needed a royal-grade alchemist like him. 3 million. shouted Tang Do. He suddenly stood up and stared fearlessly at the 7 stone pillars and the 7 pavilions that towered like gods of war. Today was the first time he had challenged the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects. Even if he failed, he would be glorious. Chapter 1263. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations, the second master is too handsome. Many people looked at him with admiration. Clan leader Tang was so bold that many people felt that they were inferior to him. Tang Du enjoyed these gazes very much. The experts of the 3 emperors and 4 sects frowned slightly but didn't say anything. They were competing openly, so one more Tang Du wasn't a big deal. In recent years, the herbal pill hall's days have been too stable, making Tang Do a bit arrogant and daring to participate. The situation in the Southern Territory really needs to change. Inside the pavilion, the 3rd prince, Ning Feiyong, smiled while looking at his first brother. Ning Hongxian raised his wine cup, swirled the wine inside, and drank it all in one gulp. He said, Dan Gu of Western Liang came at the right time. With the support of the Ning family, it's only a matter of time before the herbal medicine hall is destroyed. Brother, I admire you for planning ahead. Ning Feiyong said, should we make a move now? The Arhat Palace, Knight Luo Palace, Li family, and Xianyuan family all stood out. As the host, the Ning family would be stingy if they didn't step in. Make your bid. Ning Hongxian ordered. The 2 ancient beasts were worth competing for. Ning Feiyong nodded and walked to the window. 4 million. A loud shout came from below, like a wave rising in everyone's heart. It directly crushed Master Tang's bid of 1 million. Ning Feiyong looked in the direction of the voice and was stunned. Anger appeared on his face. The person who shouted was Qin Hao. He really thinks too highly of himself. Ning Feiyong was so angry that he sneered. Who would get the ancient beasts before him? After all, the money was paid by the Ning family. He was just a small hanger-on. His heart was insatiable, and he wanted to swallow an elephant. He was a greedy person. Ning Feiyong remembered clearly that Qin Hao spent 2.5 million on the Ning family to compete for the Thriller song. The Guqin and Beast Bell cost 900,000, so the total cost was 3.4 million. This money was paid by the Ning family. Although he had saved Ning Chaofan's life, he should have been clear about his own worth, and should have known when to stop. But now there was no end to it. Ning Feiyong thought that 3.4 million earth crystals were enough to repay Qin Hao for saving Ning Chaofan's life. Now this person wanted to bid for another 4 million. Who did he think the Ning family was? Was it his bank? You still have the face to shout? Ning Feiyong was very dissatisfied. He was not the only one who was dissatisfied. At this moment, Chang Hello clenched his fists and looked at the white-haired youth who had stood up. It was him again. Previously, Chang Hello's beloved music score, Guqin, and Beast Bell had all disappeared because of Qin Hao's interference. This time, he was determined to obtain the ancient beast. It was already difficult for him to withstand the pressure of the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects. However, Qin Hao still came to interfere. After the auction, I will make him disappear forever. Tang Xingchen gritted his teeth and said. The hatred in his heart was also rising. If Qin Hao had not tested the pills of the herbal elixir hall, the sect would not have suffered such a huge loss. The herbal elixir hall was supposed to make money this time. However, before they could make money, they had already lost their capital. This was unbearable. 5 million. Master Tang looked at Qin Hao. His eyes were full of awe-inspiring majesty, as if they had turned into 2 sharp swords to kill Qin Hao. This young man also made him very unhappy. Master Tang is so generous. He's not generous, he's angry. A man needs his face, and a tree needs its bark. Master Tang is going to go all out. The herbal elixir hall has dominated the southern region for thousands of years and has been in the pill business for generations. Its wealth is unimaginable. Although it's a first-rate sect, in terms of wealth, the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects might not be able to beat it. The 3 regions were abuzz with discussion. Everyone could see that Master Tang was going to stake everything on this one throw. The herbal elixir hall was indeed rich, but in terms of earth crystals, there were probably a few sects in the 3 sovereigns and 4 sects that could not compete with them. For example, the Arhat Palace, Nightnet Palace, and Wuk Sword sect. The Arhat Palace was the poorest among the top forces. Nightnet Palace had always been isolated, so it was not much better. Only the 3 sovereigns might be able to compete with Tangdu in terms of wealth. Tangdu, Nightnet Palace will definitely get these 2 ancient beasts. Have you become muddle-headed from alchemy? At this time, the half-step empress on the stone pillar spoke. She was obviously angry, and her words were laced with threat. That white-haired martial artist had the support of the Ning family and was already very difficult to deal with. Tangdu, that old bastard. Why didn't he go back to making pills? Why did he suddenly raise the price to 5 million? Did he want to go against Nightnet Palace? Granny Tianshuang, who doesn't like treasures? Old man does things according to the rules of the auction house. If you're not convinced, just fight with your wealth. Are you trying to bully the herbal elixir hall because we don't have a arch? Tangdu said fearlessly. If a top force destroyed a first-rate sect, he would definitely not be able to resist. But from then on, Nightnet Palace would become a joke in the southern region, a coward who only knew how to bully the weak. Do you want to die? Granny Tianshuang was enraged. Essence Qi raged around her, and a storm surrounded the stone pillar. Senior Tianshuang, everyone in the southern region knows that the disciples of the spiritual beast sect like fiend beasts, but Nightnet Palace is not good at it. Why do you have to steal from us? We asked Uncle Tang of the Herbal Elixir Hall to help us because we have no other choice. Do you still want to force us? If that's the case, feel free to vent your anger on me. There's no need to vent it on Master Tang. You can kill me with one palm. Chang Hello said in a sorrowful tone, as if he had suffered a great grievance. He was a junior. If the half-step Yuan Arch of Nightnet Palace really killed him with one palm, it would be even more unbearable. What a sharp tongue! Granny Tianshuang dispersed her essence chi and looked at the pavilion helplessly. It seemed that the palace master's wish couldn't be fulfilled. 5 million was beyond the sect's financial resources. Nightnet Palace was indeed relatively poor. Let me see which son of AB*TCH is ruining second master's good fortune. In the pavilion of Nightnet Palace, a furious roar rang out. A middle-aged man wearing a pointy green hat stepped toward the window and opened it with great force. A pair of funny triangular eyes stared in the direction of the Herbal Elixir Hall and the Spiritual Beast sect. "Husband, let's discuss something." A soft voice came from behind the middle-aged man. It was extremely charming. "There's no room for discussion. I won't take off my hat." The old demon naturally knew what the other party meant. Although the hat was a little ugly on the head, it was also a kind of cultivation that was helpful in improving one's strength. "Humph, since you like being cuckolded so much, I'll make you wear another one sooner or later," the soft voice said angrily. The old demon didn't have the time to respond. He glared fiercely at Tangdu a few times to remember this old man. Then, he looked at Ah He and Huang, who were locked in the iron cage, and felt very uncomfortable. Back then, he was also sent flying by the airflow of the mystic realm. However, he was lucky and bounced onto the bed of the Nightnet Palace master. "Sigh, master isn't here, but I can't take care of the others. I feel guilty," the old demon sighed. Good brothers shared blessings and misfortunes. Now, he was enjoying blessings, but Ah He and Huang were suffering. He could only blame second master for being charming. Being handsome was also a sin. The owner of the soft voice didn't think so. "That's right, Nightnet Palace's financial resources were indeed lacking. However, she didn't say that she had to compete with Tang Du in terms of financial resources. At worst, she could just kidnap He and Huang. Would the Ning family and Blazing Sun Temple run to Nightnet Palace's nest and fight to the death with her for 2 demonic beasts? Although it might not be easy to resolve, for her man, what could she do? 6 million. Suddenly, another voice came from below the stage, once again suppressing Master Tang's price. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1264. The bid of 6 million instantly caused a stir. The price was too high. Such a sky-high price rarely appeared in an auction. The old demon could not help but turn his triangular eyes, revealing a ruthless look. Someone was still bidding. Did they want to fight to the death with Second Master? He looked down and was completely stunned. Gradually, the corners of his eyes began to moisten. What entered his eyes was a tall and straight young man with 2 strands of white hair fluttering in front of his forehead. Beside the young man sat a large dog. Although he stood calmly in the crowd, he vaguely emitted the aura of an emperor. Master is not dead, the old demon muttered. His thoughts flew, and the scene of Pan Long Mountain appeared in his mind. The scene of the collapse was too terrifying. The sky collapsed and the earth caved in as if the end of the world had arrived. Even now, he still had lingering fears when he recalled it. At that time, he watched as Qin Hao's body became weak and floated into the void. The old demon desperately tried to catch Qin Hao, but he was sent flying by a merciless airflow. He thought that Qin Hao was dead. Good. The old demon flicked his finger at the corner of his eye. He closed the window and turned to throw himself into a soft and delicate body. Since his master was here, everything would be fine. He did not need to worry anymore. He remembered that when they arrived at Beijiang, Qin Hao chased the old demon back and cut off the soul contract between them. Although the old demon still gave a strand of his soul consciousness to Qin Hao, it no longer had the effect of coexisting with life and death. During this period, the old demon had been asking the powerhouses of the Nightnet Palace to find Qin Hao, but they had not received any news. They only found out that He and Huang had been captured. Therefore, he came to participate in the auction today. However, his master was also here. Hong, come. I'll introduce you to someone. Do you see the most handsome white-haired martial artist below the stage? Right ? Yes, I see him. Take your hand away. Why are you touching me when you're introducing me? Not at all, squeak. Immediately after, a beautiful sound that was rich in frequency came out from the pavilion. Off the stage, everyone's eyes once again converged on Qin Hao. 6 million? Was he going to fight to the death with Master Tang? Qin Hao had saved Ning Chaofan's life, and was an honored guest of the Ning family. However, 6 million earth crystals was a little too shocking. Qin Hao had already sold more than 3 million earth crystals before this. Almost 10 million earth crystals was an enormous amount. It was enough to create a high-level monarch realm expert. Even the Ning family's hearts were bleeding right now. At this moment, Master Tang, Chang Hello, Tang Xingchen, and all the disciples of the Spirit Beast sect and the Herbal Medicine Hall were furious. Bastard! Ning Feiyang was completely furious. He crushed the teacup on the table into powder. He could not allow Qin Hao to do whatever he wanted. That was 6 million yuan. Ting! Ning Feiyang turned into a streak of light and flew out in anger. Your Highness! City Lord Ning felt that something big was going to happen. He looked at Ning Hongxian. However, Ning Hongxian didn't stop him. He was leisurely drinking his wine. Apparently, he had also reached the limit of his patience towards Qin Hao. He felt that it was time for Ning Feiyang to go and deal with him so that he could teach Qin Hao a lesson. Shut up! A dazzling light flew out of the pavilion and floated above Qin Hao's head. Ning Feiyang was so angry that his face was trembling. He tried to restrain himself to maintain his composure. However, looking down at Qin Hao, he felt that he could not hold it in any longer. You are not allowed to participate in the auction anymore. Ning Feiyang took 2 deep breaths and coldly pointed at Qin Hao. Qin Hao frowned slightly and looked up at this member of Ning Wu's immediate family. How did he offend him? Third Imperial brother, what do you mean by this? Ning Chaofan stood up. Huang and Ah were Qin Hao's people. How could they not bid? Compared with Xiao Han, this was nothing. Ning Chaofan felt that he could completely control it, so he did not mention it to Ning Hongxian and Ning Feiyang before. However, the third brother ran over and pointed at Qin Hao's nose, asking him to withdraw. Chaofan, your teacher came from afar and is not familiar with the Ning Wu Empire. Our Ning Wu Empire is full of outstanding people and beautiful scenery. Take him out to relieve his boredom. Ning Feiyang tried to maintain his smile, but his tone was commanding. No, it's good here. Today, the experts of the southern region gathered here. It's an unprecedented grand occasion. Treasures appear frequently. It's perfect for me to broaden my horizons. Qin Hao cupped his hands and smiled. I told you to go, so you go. Ning Feiyang's face darkened. How could he resist? Suddenly, all the forces quieted down. The leaders looked at the confrontation between Ning Feiyang and Qin Hao with some amusement. The auction was going well, but the third prince of the Ning family suddenly came out of the pavilion to drive people away. The sect masters were no fools, especially sect master Tang and Chang Helu. They couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that even the Ning Wu royal family had limited tolerance. They could not allow Qin Hao to be presumptuous. After all, he had ruined nearly 10 million earth crystals of the Ning family. I can't rely on him anymore. Brother, don't you think he's like a dog? Ha ha. Tang Xingchen laughed. Without the support of the Ning family, he's nothing in front of me. Chang Helo said coldly. The disciples of the Spirit Beast sect certainly agreed. Their eldest brother was a genius. The only people in the southern region who could overshadow him were Yu Qianyang and Shou Wuk. In normal times, Qin Hao was not even worthy of carrying his eldest brother's shoes. However, yesterday, young Master Ning dared to drive the Spirit Beast sect out of the Wenhua garden and hurt 3 elders for such an insignificant piece of trash. It was outrageous. Your Highness, the third prince, you're a guest. There are nearly 1 million warriors in the square. Why did you drive me away? I bid according to the rules. Did I get in your way? Qin Hao felt that Ning Feiyang's attitude was extremely cold. Was it because of the earth crystals used in the auction? But the earth crystals were from his own pocket. It had nothing to do with Ning Chaofan. From the beginning to the end, Qin Hao had never thought of asking the Ning family to pay for it. Why did I drive you away? Don't you know? Since you saved Chaofan's life, I didn't want to speak too harshly. I even gave you enough face. However, you have no self-awareness. Your greed is insatiable. I can't bear it anymore. The Ning family will no longer let you take whatever you want. Now take your music score, Guqin, and beast spirit and get out. From now on, the Ning family no longer owes you anything. Ning Feiyang lazily waved his hand at Qin Hao. His words were very clear. He didn't believe that Qin Hao didn't understand. Boom! A huge wave was set off in the square. Millions of people were talking and pointing at Qin Hao as if they were watching a joke. The Ning family's tolerance had really reached the limit. They drove Qin Hao away. However, no one felt that there was anything wrong. Frightening Soul Song was the Zither Emperor's secret art. The Guqin and Beast Spirit were also very precious. The Ning family gave these 3 treasures to Qin Hao. It could be considered as repaying him for saving Ning Chaofan's life. In fact, this repayment far surpassed what Qin Hao had paid. And Qin Hao should have followed Ning Feiyang's orders. He should have some self-awareness. Leaving was a wise choice. If he left now, he would still be protected by the Ning family. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep these 3 treasures. As for the 2 ancient beasts, don't even think about it. Ning Chaofan, is this the royal bearing of your Ning family? So in your royal brother's eyes, your life is only worth 3 million. Qin Hao also laughed. Chapter 1265. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Who is the stupid one? Of course, life couldn't be measured by money. It was embarrassing for anyone. Qin Hao didn't mean to insult Ning Chaofan. It was Ning Feiyang's attitude. Qin Hao just said it for him. At the moment, Ning Chaofan felt very uncomfortable. He thought about it silently. Was that what his 3rd brother meant? Shut up. Every disciple of the Ning Wu royal family is a noble. How can you value them with vulgar money? Chaofan, he is using you. He is using the great background of the Ning family to satisfy his own selfish desires. Don't be fooled by him. Ning Feiyang scolded. Master, are you using me? Ning Chaofan looked at Qin Hao. He thought so before in the secret territory. At that time, they were forced to unite to survive. They were just using each other. But after coming out, he didn't want to be narrow-minded with Qin Hao. Yes, I am using you. I have been using you since the beginning. Do you understand now? Qin Hao replied with a smile, as calm as ever. His lips curled up in a smile. If one were to look at him purely from the perspective of appreciation, Qin Hao had an innate charm. But at the moment, Ning Chaofan's heart felt like it was hit hard. It was very uncomfortable. You are a foppish, flamboyant, brainless person. You only know how to show off your background. You have such a strong background. If I don't use you, who should I use? But your brother is smart. He saw through me at a glance. You are worthy of being a direct descendant of the Ning Wu royal family. It is admirable. With such a leader, the empire is not far from the golden age. Qin Hao stared at Ning Feiyang. Was he really smart? Or was he a short-sighted idiot? Qin Hao didn't care. He only knew that even though Ning Chaofan was foppish and flamboyant, he was much better than Ning Feiyang in treating people. Golden age? Sad. However, Ning Chaofan didn't think so. He held his head high and enjoyed Qin Hao's praise. He was naturally smarter than Ning Chaofan. Otherwise, how could he be second only to one person and above tens of thousands of people? After all, when Ning Hongxian ascended the throne in the future, he would be the king of politics. Has this prince finally revealed his ugly face? Transcendent, take a closer look. This is your teacher, your savior, a despicable person who is two-faced. In the future, don't just bring random people home. Use your brain. You are the next city lord of Golden Light City. You have a heavy responsibility on your shoulders. Ning Chaofan shook his head. He was very disappointed with Ning Chaofan. This matter was a lesson for him. It doesn't matter if I'm despicable or two-faced. Once I've been seen through by the third prince, I'll naturally leave eldest young Master Ning. So, from this moment on, Ning Chaofan and I have nothing to do with each other. Our relationship as master and disciple ends here. Are you satisfied now? Qin Hao asked. Ning Feiyang was stunned. He was naturally satisfied. This was the result he wanted. It was unexpected that Qin Hao set it out in front of him so cleanly. The other party should have asked for more compensation. Do you know what you're saying? I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it before you speak, Ning Feiyang said with a sullen face. He couldn't wait for Qin Hao to leave. However, he still had to do it to show the generosity of the Ning family. There's no need to think about it. I won't rely on the Ning family to cling to your power. But I won't give up the auction of the ancient beast. The third prince won't drive me away again, right? Qin Hao replied resolutely. How can a mere scoundrel stay? Guards. Third brother. Ning Chaofan shouted in a hoarse voice. He raised his head and said, Golden Light City is holding a grand auction. Guests will come from everywhere. What's one more? Ning Chaofan was struggling in his heart. He didn't want to believe that Qin Hao would make such a ruthless decision. Just now, his teacher gave him an inferior emperor weapon? He told him to work hard and become strong himself. That was true strength. But things had come to this, and he couldn't change anything. Ning Chaofan knew better than anyone else about Qin Hao's determination to bid for Ah He and Huang. Since he wanted to stay, Ning Chaofan must keep Qin Hao's right to bid. Just take it as repayment for his teacher's teaching during this time. You're the next lord of Golden Light City. You should be in charge of the auction. Ning Feiyong glanced at Qin Hao with disgust. He was extremely fed up with this person. However, he also needed to take care of Ning Chaofan's mood. At this time, he suddenly saw Qing Lao and was slightly startled. Duanmu Qinghui? No wonder. Qin Hao simply got rid of the Ning family and found himself a new backer, the leftist faction of the Wanxiu alliance. Your Highness Feiyong. Qin Lao stood up and cupped his hands. The other party was the future ruler of the martial Ning Empire, and his status was not inferior to his. Ning Feiyong ignored Qin Lao and looked at Qin Hao again. He clicked his tongue and praised, Your flattery and thigh-hugging skill is really amazing. You abandoned our Ning family and latched onto the great elder of the Wanxiu Alliance's leftist faction. You're really awesome. However, there is one thing that this prince has to say. You are extremely stupid. How could the Wanxiu Alliance compare with the Ning family? Now that the Wanxiu Alliance was almost finished, as long as Nan Ao launched an all-out attack, Duanmu Qinghui wouldn't be able to hold on for 7 days. Ning Feiyong's information was very accurate. The great elder of the Wanxiu Alliance's leftist faction? Qin Hao looked at Qing Lao with some surprise. Your status is so high? Qin Hao didn't know before. If he knew, he wouldn't have chatted with Qing Lao so unscrupulously. It was really rude.